Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. Over the course of the next 4 hours, Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Hugh McDonald will take us through all the goals as they hit the back of the net, north and south of the border. And the priority over the next hour or so will be to preview some of the key games in the Premiership, in the Championship also. But one match is finished, the big one at Ibrox. It's finished. Rangers 1, Celtic 5, and yet another hammering handed out to Rangers by Brendan Rodgers' side, Ruffy, and the biggest one since I think 1898 handed out at Ibrox.
Yeah, if we all thought last week was one-sided, this was even bigger. It was a tremendous performance from Celtic. Obviously Rangers were hanging on to passion and playing for the club and everything, but at the end it all boiled down to the ability on the park, and Celtic players are so far in front of Rangers players, it's unreal, and it was there for everybody to see. Obviously Rangers are back to square one, and again we keep talking about who's going to do something about it, where it's going to come from, and that's what everybody will be talking about for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
The most worrying aspect of it for Pedro Caixinha was the empty seats, and that was a good 20 minutes before the end of the game, Gordon Smith.
Oh yeah, the fans were pouring out. They already realised the game was over. I mean, I think even the early part of the first half, they knew that. What I would say in my analysis of it was that I thought Celtic were even better today than they were last week. I think there were a lot of talk about it, but Rangers were so poor, inept last week that Celtic cruised it. But today Rangers forced them a little bit more to do more, and I thought Celtic did. I thought they closed down Rangers really well. They made Rangers make mistakes all the time in terms of their passing. They gave away goals pretty cheaply. I still think the manager got the tactics wrong again today in terms of the structure. The way he set his team up was wrong, and I think that would make a big difference in terms of how the players even look if he actually gets that right. But nevertheless, you have to do that in terms of making Rangers better, in terms of the structure, to compete with Celtic, because Celtic are better in terms of overall, generally, in terms of the squad, the players they've got, the ability. Some of the passing movement they made was tremendous today. They were definitely the better side and thoroughly deserved their win. It's an embarrassing one for Rangers, as you say, like since 1897 or whatever, to lose the biggest defeat they've had. This is going to come down on the manager and this group of players, but nevertheless, there's a big gulf there, Peter, and it was there to be seen.
And the big positive is for Brendan Rodgers and his Celtic side, 5 wins out of 6 and a draw in there as well. But the last time that was achieved was in Martin O'Neill's era of 2003-2004. Sinclair, Griffiths, McGregor, Boyata, Lustig and only Miller for the consolation.
The big difference between the Martin O'Neill era is the chasm between the teams. People forget how well Alec McLeish did for Rangers in the Martin O'Neill era. There is no sign of that at Rangers. I agree totally with Gordon. I think there's a real dose of reality has to be in place at Rangers. You know, Rangers now in the league around about St Johnstone, just below Aberdeen. They can't go toe-to-toe with Celtic. They can't say, we will take Celtic on. Yeah. They have to come up with a plan that neutralises what Celtic's about. The astonishing thing is, last night we spoke about how they had to double up wide, how they had to Tierney and Sinclair were would be a huge problem, so you had to have 2 doubling up. You left Tavernier one-on-one with
1 on 2
1 on 2
1 on 2 at times
with Sinclair and Tierney. Now 50-50 he wouldn't win with Tierney. 50-50 he wouldn't win with Sinclair. He's got no chance against the two of them.
Absolutely.
Lot to talk about in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. For the Celtic fans, it's jubilation, and they are only 4 games away, possibly 5 games, beg your pardon, in becoming the Invincibles throughout the entire season, undefeated. Will it happen? There's more fallout from the Old Firm game. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. The big news from the early kick-off at Ibrox that finished Rangers 1, Celtic 5 to the goals. The first one conceded from the penalty spot. Scott Sinclair dispatching it with consummate ease, Ruffy, but the penalty is down to the inexperience of Miles Bierman that he lunged in and gave John Beaton no option.
Yeah, that's all it was, just an experienced defender would have stood on his feet as soon as you go to ground. I mean, Celtic players getting away from goal, there's no need to tackle him, just usher him right into the corner. But like all the youth of today, you know, he felt as if he had to make a tackle, but when you're going to make tackles there, you've got to make sure you get the ball and you've got to make sure it's clean.
Ruffy, Hugh was talking about before the programme earlier on, he was spot on about, you were saying about the fact that even in primary school you learn certain things in football that you shouldn't do, and one of them is you don't tackle somebody who's running away from goal for a start, whether you're in the box. I mean, he's in the last yard of the box when he makes a challenge. It's so naive, and that shouldn't happen from MD, who's in the professional game. Even though he's only 18 years of age, he should never be making a challenge there. It was ridiculous. And
can I ask you, as a goalkeeper, Ruffy, do you think Wes Foderingham should have done better with the Lee Griffiths shot?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll look at it again. He got a good hand to the ball, and it was coming across him. It wasn't really going away from him at an angle. It was a goalkeeper of his quality should have put it over the bar at least. So I have to say, yeah, when he has a look at it, he'll probably would have.
Was he diving low too early, do you think?
No, I just think he thought he got his hand to it and he'd put it over the bar, but it wasn't sufficient enough to get it over.
It's a good strike though. It was good power.
It was a good strike. I mean, if you get a chance to look at Lee Griffiths again, he's not even looking at the goal.
No,
he's not looking. He's his head down, and he knows where he's going to put it. And
it's like golf shot.
He's not even looking up to see where the goalkeeper is. It's head down, hit the target. Power. It's a fantastic strike.
Yeah. But go back to the Bierman thing, which is a crucial thing. I mean, if the Rangers to have any chance in this game, they've got to be sitting, coming up to half time at nothing each. Or, you know, in with a chance, a free kick, a long throw in, something maybe going their way. And I just feel that the Bierman thing was very much a kind of hangover from last week. He was frightened of Roberts. You know, Roberts had in one of the primary school phrase again, given him a chasing last week. Yeah. And I think he had this rush of blood that he had to do something. He had to close down Roberts early. He had to get a tackle in early, and you go, what are you doing there? Yeah. I mean, just what are you doing there? I mean, the two errors, one, going to ground in the penalty box. I think Willie Miller played for 20 years and never went to ground in the penalty box. And second, as we've discussed before, one of the rules, you learned things half a century ago. If in doubt, put it out, never pass across the area, and never tackle a man that's running away from goal, because all you can do is foul him. That's the best result you can get.
Over and above that, Ruffy, by that time, I think there was a certain resignation inside Ibrox. It was a case of maybe damage limitation. We'll talk about the tactics in a moment, Gordon, but what about McGregor chips in with a goal? Boyata scores from 3 yards inside, away from the goalkeeper from a free kick. And then, as if to add insult to injury, another defender scores a goal that any striker would have been proud of.
Yeah, and I think if you go to analyse it later on, it's all bad goals from a team point of view. They're all, I mean, full credit to Celtic. I mean, Celtic were like picking the ball up in their own 18-yard line, and the pace and that they were attacking Rangers. They were in Rangers' 18-yard box within 3 seconds, and Rangers just couldn't get anywhere near them. I think the fitness levels of the Celtic players are there for everybody to see, and obviously the confidence, really. But basically, for me, it's man for man on the park. I think if you look at the Celtic team on paper, every one of them would be, what, $1 million plus? Would you get $1 million for anybody in a Rangers jersey? Anywhere near $1 million? Yeah. And that just shows you the strength and depth that they've got, and the quality.
Yeah, and on the bench as well. He's looking at the bench. He's got the great scorer of Dembele, who has been unplayable against Rangers this season, except for the one who's Strawberry, the poor match. He's not playing, and then Celtic, you're looking at Celtic bench, there's Rodgers coming on, Forrest can come on. You're looking at the Rangers bench, you're saying, what's going on here?
Well, here's one other point which I think we should debate, is the fact that, the headline is, I'm here at Ibrox to stop Celtic winning 10 in a row. Next season, I think his priority is to make sure he wins 10 games in a row for Rangers, Pedro Caixinha.
I know we shouldn't be really judging him until he starts bringing players in, but I think already now, and Gordon's touched on it on numerous occasions, tactically, he looks to me like a Ronnie Delia. You know, it looks as if Rangers, for me, have got a young, inexperienced, not a young, but an inexperienced coach who's been thrown in to a massive club, and I don't think tactically he has the experience to do what a manager at Rangers should be doing.
I think what's come home here is the fact that, you know, that's 2 games we've just seen Rangers under Caixinha. The previous game to that, and he was at the game, he was there watching it. Graham Murty was in charge. They went to Celtic Park, well organised, stopped Celtic playing. Celtic didn't really perform that. A lot of people were quite critical of them, saying, oh, they've gone over the edge. But it's because of the way he set it up. Now, first and foremost, if you set your team up right, and Hugh mentioned it earlier on, and it's a big point I've been making as well, you must go with your midfield in terms of having a player in a wide area so that it supports the fullbacks for a start. Then you've maybe got your 3 in the central area. You only need 1 up front, because if you're going to build an attack, you can still support that front man with runners. Celtic do it. Celtic play 1 person up front, but they get great support there. Today, McGregor, Armstrong gets up there to support, but they've got a 4-5-1 formation. Rangers have been totally out of it in the last 2 games. More so today, I think, because they let Celtic have so much control of the wide area today. And Celtic, if you allow people like this ability Celtic have got, you're going to be destroyed. It could have been more. I think Rangers got away with 5-1 today.
I think so.
In hindsight, Rangers should have maybe left Game Murty in charge for the whole season. You know, he knows the players he's got. He knows
to the end of the season.
Just let him do
every game.
Let him do what he's doing.
Every Old Firm game that's been this season, the one tactically competent performance by the Rangers manager has been
that game.
That was that. I mean, that was the way of it.
Yeah. Okay, interesting times. We'll continue our talk. Give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Give us your thoughts on a 5-1 win for Brendan Rodgers' Celtic side at Ibrox. If you're a Celtic fan out there, can you now confidently say that the Celtic side, who already have the championship in the bag, can they go the entire season undefeated? Will they win the Scottish Cup, complete the treble, and look towards strengthening in the summer as well? Give us your thoughts on that. If you're a Rangers fan, what's the way ahead under Pedro Caixinha? Is your focus firmly on the board and how they can back him, or is it indeed questioning the manager, his tactics, and whether indeed he's up to the job? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. There are big questions across the Premiership, Championship, League 1 and League 2. In the Premiership, at the bottom end, for differing reasons, this is for Park, for Motherwell against Dundee. It's such a big game, and Kevin Harper is there for us.
Yeah, Peter, it sure is for certain. Steve Robertson's men can take a giant leap towards safety with a great result against Dundee today with 5 games to go. But on the other hand, Neil McCann, first game in, he's got 5 games to save Dundee and save the season and possibly get the job full time.
Yeah, that's the key issue here. It's about how they get the most out of the players. Stephen Robinson not long in the job, Kevin, and Neil McCann this week has been working tirelessly with individual players in Dundee and trying to get everybody back to basics.
That's the thing, Peter. I think when you're down there, it's about winning headers, clearing the ball, putting your body on the line, and no fancy stuff really. And Neil McCann's right in going back to basics. Defend properly, attack, and try and create chances where you can get the opportunity to score. Whereas on the other hand, Motherwell saw them against Inverness, Cali Thistle, and they were dominant first 20 minutes and then fell away. And Inverness, Cali were probably deserved a draw, but unfortunately they get beat 4-2. And it'll be probably the same again. Same for them. Just do basics, and when they get the chance, they've got 2 goal scorers that can score goals.
Yep, and with that in mind, Kevin, I think both of them have needs, but if Motherwell can get a win today, suddenly that might give them that little bit of breathing space with 4 games then remaining.
Oh, yeah, Peter. I think it's a really, really important game for Motherwell because they're at home. Probably their fans expect them to win. And on the cusp of pretty much safety. I think if they win today, 2 games in a trot, they've took 6 points, and their confidence will be sky high.
Yeah, so we'll come back to Kevin and get the teams very shortly. That's a crucial game in the Premiership, and there's also a reporter out at a crucial game in the Championship, bottom of the table, people trying to avoid relegation, playoffs as well. There's no bigger game than St Mirren against Raith Rovers. Des McKeown is there for us. Des, this is one of those nail-biting afternoons.
It is indeed, Peter, and every time I come down to the Paisley 2021 Stadium, it's been billed a must-win for St Mirren. Today is no different, and indeed probably is a must-win if St Mirren wish to finish anywhere other than 9th or 10th in the Championship. Today is a significant day in St Mirren's history, and it's a significant day also in games versus Raith Rovers, because 17 years ago to the very day, St Mirren defeated Raith Rovers to win the Scottish First Division to go up into the SPL. So the omens are right here for St Mirren today, but in Raith Rovers, they know also, John Hughes and his players know, that they have a big chance to put themselves out of that potential playoff place at the bottom of the division, but they've not been good on the road. They haven't won on the road since I think October last year. It's actually 13 games on their travels they've not won. So Raith Rovers have got everything to do today. St Mirren, with the momentum they have built up since Jack Ross took over and then built on within the transfer window in January, most people think St Mirren will come out on top, but it's going to be a very, very tight game, Peter.
And early team news, have you got a sniff of both sides?
Yeah, I can actually give you both teams, Peter. It's the same again for Jack Ross, even though the team were defeated last week at Tannadice 3-2 against Dundee United. Jack Ross sticks with the team. That means it's Billy O'Brien in goals, a back four of Gary Irvine, Gary McKenzie, Jack Baird and Adam Eckersley. Midfield four of Kyle McGuinness, Stephen McGinn, Stephen Mallon and Lewis Morgan, with Cammy Smith and Rory Loy up top. On the bench, Langfield, Stelios, Webster, Quinn, Sutton and Fielda. For John Hughes, he makes two changes to the team that was defeated on Wednesday evening against Hibs at Easter Road. Out go Mark Stewart and Ross Matthews. They're replaced by Rudy Scatchell and Danny Handling. They'll line up 4-4-2. It's Pavel Penksa in goal, Jason Thompson, Craig Barr, John-Yves Mivoto and Kevin McHattie at the back. Midfield four of Chris Johnston, Danny Handlin, Jordan Thompson, Bobby Barr and Declan McManus and Rudy Scatchell up top. That means they've got Benedictus, Roberts, Brennan, Court, Hardy and Stewart on the bench. Our referee is Kevin Clancy.
OK, thanks to Des. We'll be back there at New St Mirren Park just to get further build-up in that crucial game in the Championship. And there are other matches in the Championship we'll be discussing very shortly. If you have just joined us on STV2 at Ibrox, it's finished. Rangers 1, Celtic 5. The biggest win for Celtic at the ground of their greatest rivals since 1898, when they defeated Rangers by 4-0. But it's 5 wins out of 6 for Brendan Rodgers' side against Rangers, and they've been dominant throughout, and now the goal is to add the Scottish Cup, complete the treble and go through the entire season undefeated. We will, in this programme, hear from Brendan Rodgers and Pedro Caixinha and possibly some of the key players in the game. So stick with us throughout the afternoon. We'll keep you right up to date with what's happening. OK, Motherwell against Dundee. Well, the build-up to this one, I said it was a nail-biter in the Championship. It certainly is a category applicable to this match too. Here's the Motherwell manager, Stephen Robinson, on the importance of this game for the Fir Park side.
I think we look forward to the game on Saturday, because it gives us a chance to leave Dundee a big gap between us and Dundee, and then other results will take care of themselves. But it's an opportunity for us, and there's confidence around the camp. We've had a good week, a lot of things done and work done, so we're confident going into the game. I don't think we worry too much about Dundee. We worry about us and what we do and how we approach the game. The manager that's come in can't sign new players. So, all we have to do is make sure we match their desire and aggression, which they will do. That's usually what a new manager gives a lift to the team for some unknown reason. Players put an extra couple of % into their performances. So we'll match that. We'll make sure that we play at the same intensity that we have done in the games I've been in here, and we'll counter that.
Yeah, of course, Stephen Robinson not long in the job, and neither is Neil McCann. He's been working tirelessly this week, as I mentioned to Kevin Harper, with individual players at Dundee and then collectively trying to get them to do the basics correctly. So what does he make of this huge match?
We understand it's going to be a tough game because I think you always breed confidence into a side, and that's helped along the way by good results. So on the back of their result against Inverness, they'll be coming out strong and confident. It's just up to us to implement our game plan, and this game is the most important focus because it's my first game, but it's their first game in what is going to be 5 huge matches for the club.
Yeah, this is massive. He's got 5 games to save Dundee's season and then possibly extend his own role as manager, Ruffy.
Yeah, but we all talk about momentum at this part of the season, and certainly Dundee have no momentum whatsoever. No wins in 5. You know, obviously Motherwell scoring 4 goals last week. Again at home this week, you would expect them to go into the game with confidence. And I think Neil McCann will have to work wonders. I know we always say a new manager can come in, can lift players, and that is true, but I can't see it. I just think Motherwell have got all the cards in their favour today.
OK, let's go to Fir Park. Kevin Harper with some early team news from that match.
Well, Peter, make one change from their 4-2 win here against Inverness 2 weeks ago. In comes Lasley, out goes Pearson. Their team, Craig Sampson in goal, Stephen Hamill, Ben Hagan, Carl McHugh, Lewis Moult, Ryan Bowman, Chris Cadden, Keith Lasley, Elliot Fear, Alan Campbell and Scott McDonald. Whereas Dundee new manager Neil McCann makes 3 changes from their defeat 2 weeks ago to Hamilton. Out go Higgins, Kerr and Baktui. In come O'Hara, Ross and Gomez. Their team is Scott Bain in goal, Kevin Holt, James Vincent, Darren O'Day, Tom Haitley, Mark O'Hara, Nick Ross, Paul McGowan, Marcus Haber, Craig Whiten and Kevin Gomez.
OK, thanks to Kevin. And every time I see Kevin, Ruffy, it reminds me of me, you and Gordon out at football matches. We had the wear Eagles Dare jackets on everywhere that we went because it was freezing.
Well wrapped up.
It used to be. This is May. This is May now. It should be a wee bit warmer, but obviously not.
Yeah, not in Motherwell, it's not. But it's an interesting one, Peter, because if you look at the scenario there, you know, it's just what we've been talking about the Rangers here. Dundee, they've had 7 defeats in a row. Obviously, Paul Hartley was put out of the job. They're on a bad run, no confidence. But can a manager turn it around? And the answer to that is yes. And that'll be the key aspect here. Whether Neil McCann can go in there, he's made changes. He might be playing a different system, playing different players. He could actually turn things around. So that's why they've brought him in. That's the key. Of the quirky nature of the fixtures, this is the 3rd time Motherwell have been at home to Dundee this season. The 2 of them are right next to each other in the league. But Dundee already had a 5-1 win there, as we know. They had a draw there, but so they'll go down there, and that, I think Ruffy's right in terms of saying Motherwell should be favourites for it in terms of form, but Dundee have got somebody else in charge now, and it'll be interesting to see just what Neil McCann can do.
I'm interested to see if they get that kick start, that kind of, almost like the electronic beat to the heart, just to get them kicked, because they've got good memories to look back on, as Gordon says, 5-1 there. And I think it came to a situation where the manager had to go. I mean, it got so, I think even Paul himself got to the stage where he was saying, you know, what did I do to change this? And it got desperation stakes. But there's so many we've had the Rangers-Celtic match, you know, and we're taking a breath after that. But if you look at what's online today, there's so many big matches today in all divisions.
Yeah, Aberdeen take on St Johnstone, and Derek McInnes has mentioned that his players should be focusing on making sure they're playing, getting good form ahead of the cup final, but they should not be allowing themselves to think about the cup final.
So I do think having the focus of these last 5 games against good opponents is good preparation for that, but you know, I'm not going into this game thinking about a cup final. You know, I'm going into this game thinking about trying to overcome a tough St Johnstone team and get all 3 points to help us in the league form. We've spoke often enough about our objectives for the season, and how the season ends is normally how it's defined. So we want to obviously do well in the league and be hopefully the league form helps us get into the cup game.
And I think a win today for Aberdeen will indeed seal second place for them off the back of that Rangers game, because their goal difference far outweighs what Rangers have to offer. So this is a big day for Aberdeen. Their team: Lewis, Logan, Shinnie, Considine, Taylor, McLean, Christie, Rooney, McGinn, Hayes and Jack is the starting 11 for Aberdeen. As far as St Johnstone are concerned, it's Manus, Anderson, Miller, Davidson, Wotherspoon, Swanson, Shaughnessy, Foster, Easton, Craig and Cummins. And there's something at stake for St Johnstone as well. Tommy Wright wants the Saints to finish fourth.
We got clarification obviously that 4th place will get into Europe, and that gives, because you can't rule Partick out of it as well, that gives the 3 clubs something really to play for, and a real focus between now and the end of the season.
4th, it's a battle. Hearts could catch them, but I don't see the signs at the moment.
No, and this is a very interesting game because we know that the pressure's all on Aberdeen to clinch that second spot, which Tommy Wright does very well, in head-to-heads with Aberdeen and with Derek McInnes in particular. So it's a big match. Interesting one in the team selection, Peter. We were talking about Ryan Jack being in the team, and off the back of. Obviously, we'll have a discussion later about what happens at Rangers, but Ryan Jack now looks likely to go to the MLS with Columbus Crew, which is a really interesting move. A player of his age, it shows the way the American League MLS is becoming to the forefront. It used to be where great players went to die for the word. Finish their career, and now it looks very much likely he's going to the MLS. So that's an interesting kind of side story today to that, because what's going to happen, over the next few weeks with Aberdeen and Rangers, I think is going to be real massive, looking at their squads and where they're going to be next year.
Yeah, they have that lead over Hearts, as you're saying at the moment, Peter, for that 4th spot. But the thing is, if St Johnstone, Hearts will be looking at this as saying St Johnstone have got a tough game. At Aberdeen today, Aberdeen will be going to trying to win that game, and Hearts being at home against Thistle, if they can get the win, it gets the gap to 1 point, and I think they'll really feel then they've got a chance because they've got St Johnstone to play, obviously. Yeah,
absolutely. You made it all sound so easy for me there, Gordon, but unfortunately we're talking about Hearts here, and the evidence hasn't been convincing. This is the Hearts side for today. It's in goal Jack Hamilton, Ziolis, Walker, Boban, Jim, Cowie, Chule, Novak, Smith, Struna and Goncalves. And off the back of that as well, the news over the last 24 hours that Sam Nicholson looks as if he will leave Hearts in the summer. They might only get a development fee for him, but it looks as if he is looking to pastures new as well. Doesn't want to stay at what will be, effectively, they're going to call it Tynecastle Park once more. Ian Cathro, still to convince a number of Hearts fans. This is what he had to say about this match.
I don't consider that this is a running of 5 games. I consider that there is just the next game, and that's the only thing that's important to us. So that's the only thing that we're thinking about, and in that case we want to win the game. I'm not somebody who's obsessed with either your phrase of must win, because you can lose and you can win the next 4. But our focus is entirely on this game, and we want to win the game.
Yeah, I think the phrase that he's not really too bothered about must-win games will become more and more prominent if he doesn't win games in the remaining 5, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think he'll know the importance of this game against Partick Thistle. If they win this one today, that practically knocks Partick Thistle out of the race for Europe. So it's a big game for them if they were to win it, and obviously the guys have just said how much they would close it on St Johnstone if they don't win. So yeah, the importance of winning is there for everybody, and these supporters will demand at least Europe, and I'm sure Anne Budge would want Europe as well.
The Partick Thistle side is Thomas Cherney in goal, Callum Booth, Chris Doolan, Chris Erskine, Stephen Lawless, Adam Barton, Christy Elliott, Daniel Devine, Niall Keown, Ryan Edwards and Andrew McCarthy. They'll make a go of it. They'll want to win 5 games, and I think they'll still get the plaudits for what Alan Archibald's achieved.
I thought Gordon made a good point when Thistle went to Ibrox and said that there might have been a little softness in them now that they had achieved what they'd set out to do all season. But I think that'll have passed now, and they'll be looking to themselves and saying, you know, this is a place we can go. It'll be a big crowd. This is a place we can go and really cause trouble. That's a very attacking team. See, when you run through that team, there's so many good football players in that team, players that can go forward. As you know, Peter, I've watched Thistle regularly this season, and I've always been impressed, even particularly actually when they've lost late in games. I just like the way Alan Archibald sets them up, and I think this has got all the makings of a smashing. I could see Partick Thistle doing well there today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Hamilton against Kilmarnock after the break. Let me give you some immediate reaction as Brendan Rodgers has been speaking to the press after the game, and he said the players tactically were absolutely superb in the game, and when they had the ball they were sensational. Rangers were playing a diamond, and if you are not concentrated or organised, you can get outnumbered and outpassed.
Well, Rangers were outnumbered and outpassed. There's no doubt about that in that midfield area, because they never really protected the wide areas either. And as Hugh had mentioned earlier on, I agree with him totally that Celtic are strong in their wide areas, and especially down the left side. I mean, Roberts on his own down the right was great. Lustig is more of a defensive player that goes and supports it, although he did score a good goal today from a central position. But down the left side with Tierney and Sinclair there, Rangers never cope with that.
And Ruffy, this last line is probably the most damning and difficult to hear for Rangers fans. It was a very comprehensive win, and my only disappointment is that we should have scored more goals.
Yeah, particularly in the first half. I think Sinclair had one at the back post, which is, I think, me and Hugh probably could have tapped in. I don't know about Gordon. It was a bit near for him.
Yeah.
But no, there was chances. I think Griffiths hit the bar. Yeah, you're right, but that's what happens when you win these kind of games.
Sinclair also missed that one when it came back to him, didn't he? Put it past the post.
Give us your view on the Old Firm game at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. We're going to be heading to New St Mirren Park. We'll be back to Fir Park as well, and we'll look at the lower leagues too. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. The Old Firm game finished Rangers 1, Celtic 5. The immediate reaction coming from the Rangers camp, Pedro Caixinha has been in the press room, and the early comments from him, the defeat is totally my responsibility. And he also says the players need to be mentally, physically stronger as well. He says there will be a time I speak about the referee. There will be a time I'll speak about a lot of things. I'm here to defend Rangers. I don't think John Beaton was a key issue for me, Gordon, in that game.
No, I don't think so. I thought he had a decent game. You know, there's always been disputes over whether people think somebody should have got a yellow or red card. There was one that Simunovic had a tackle and Kenny Miller earlier on. I thought at first when I saw it, I thought that could be a serious one. But then when I saw it again, I saw the replay, I felt he won the ball. He went in low and kicked the ball away before he made any contact. So I thought it wasn't as bad as it originally looked. So I thought John Beaton had a decent game. Yeah, OK. Let's switch to the last game that we've still to discuss in the Premiership. Hamilton against Kilmarnock. The Ackies still battling away to avoid any playoff or possible relegation. I think playoff is the one that most teams out with Inverness are thinking they're trying to avoid. Hamilton Ackies boss Martin Canning says the players have to show something in particular to make sure they're not in the mix.
Yeah, well, obviously you hope you can draw on past experiences. But I think just now, it's all about making sure you do your job. Every game now is going to be a difficult game between now and the end of the season, and we've got to make sure that we're the team that puts in the work rate, puts in the effort to make sure we get the 3 points. I think the biggest impact is going to be your ability to make sure that you peak in a Saturday and you get the maximum out of everybody and give yourself the best chance to get 3 points.
OK, the Ackies only a couple of points away from that playoff place. Kilmarnock, well, you'd think they would feel maybe a little easier about the prospects of being dragged into the playoff place, but their interim manager at the moment, Lee McCulloch, is having none of it.
The main word that we've used this week has been complacency. We're sitting 7th now. A lot of people saying Kilmarnock's going to be alright, Kilmarnock's going to be safe. That's not the way we're looking at it in our dressing room. We know we need 1, 2, 3 wins, whatever it is, how many points, however it is, to be safe. We know we're not safe, and we'll be doing everything we can to try and get safe.
So there you have it, Ruffy. Hamilton, Kilmarnock 5 points with a little bit of a cushion.
I know we're all talking about the playoff now, and we're all probably writing off Inverness, quite rightly so, with the thumping with Motherwell and the thumping last night. But Inverness will still be thinking, if Hamilton were to lose and Dundee were to lose, Inverness have got a home game next against Hamilton. You know, if they win that and these two other results go the way I'm thinking, they're still 2 points behind.
Yeah, we will talk about Inverness very shortly and the implications of that heavy defeat last night, 4-0, and 4 goals scored by Liam Boyce. He's got 21 for the season, and you wouldn't bet against some top teams having a look at him in Scotland, maybe sniffing around Ross County to tempt them with an offer. Let's go back to the Championship. We'll get the teams in full once again from Des McKeown. He's out there in Paisley getting ready for a cracker. The atmosphere building, Des.
Yes, it is, Peter, and I have to say that having spoken to a number of my friends this week who are St Mirren fans, you know, there is a real sense of nerves around the whole club. They know exactly how important this game and this season is to the potential of full-time football here in Paisley. And indeed, Jack Ross of Camera had spoken to me earlier on the week, and when he was over at Easter Road during the course of the week, Raith Rovers were still drawing with Hibs. He left at 1 apiece, thinking that Raith Rovers were the more likely to win the game, and was actually delighted to find out that Hibs came out on top. So all, you know, so much at stake today for both clubs. But getting into the game, the teams, it's the same again for Jack Ross for the side that played last week at Tannadice. That means it's Billy O'Brien in goals, a back four of Irvin McKenzie, Baird and Eckersley, midfield four of McGuinness, Mallon, McGinn and Morgan, front two of Smith and Loy, on the bench Langfield, Stelios, Webster, Sutton, Fjelde, Todd and Quinn. For John Hughes, we've spoken already, you know, a terrible run of results over the last few months, not won on their travels since October last year. He makes 2 changes to the side who lost out at Easter Road on Wednesday night. Out goes Stewart and Matthews, in come Handling and Scatchell. They'll line up with Pinksa in goal. Back 4 Thompson, Barr, Mavoto and McHattie. Midfield 4 of Johnston, Handling, Thompson and Barr. Front 2 McManus and Scatchell. On the bench Benedictus, Roberts, Brennan, Court, Hardy and Stewart. Our referee here in Paisley is Kevin Clancy.
Got to ask you, Des, who's going to win that one?
I cannot see beyond St Mirren, Peter. I have to say, each game this season has gone to the home side in the games. I don't think that's going to change today, and I think John Hughes and Raith Rovers' poor run of form on the road is going to continue. I'll go St Mirren 2-1.
OK, thanks to Des for that prediction. There's a crucial game between Ayr United and Hibernian that St Mirren fans will be keeping a close eye on, and Dumbarton as well, who play Dundee United later on. Let me give you the early news from Hibs. Their team is Ross Laidlaw, David Gray, John McGinn, Fraser Fivey. Grant Holt starts for Hibernian, Lewis Stevenson, Martin Boyle, Jordan Foster, Darren McGregor, Chris Humphrey and Jason Cummings. It couldn't be a more difficult game, Robbie, for Ayr United.
Against Ayr United, because that's the strongest side he's put in compared to the Raith Rovers side, so I'm sure when Ian McCall sees that side, he's not going to be too happy.
Yeah, here's the Ayr United side faced with the task of playing one of the strongest Hibs sides this season. Fleming, Devlin, Boyle, Rose, Moore, Forrest, Harkins, Kearney, Megget, Balatoni and Docherty. He's got experience in there and they've had good results against Hibs. Can they do it again? Ayr United making a real battle at the bottom of the Championship. There's more to discuss after this quick break. to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. I'm Peter Martin, and our pundits today to take you through the afternoon, keeping you right up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net, giving you their opinion and reaction to certain games. One of them in particular we've been talking about, Rangers 1, Celtic 5. Give us your thoughts on your star man, anything that disappointed you about your players today in your team, or indeed what particularly pleased you, and what are the implications for Rangers over the summer. The gap needs to be closed. It's now 36 points. We'll discuss that in a moment, look at the table and get the predictions of these guys to the main games. Let's go to Fir Park, Motherwell against Dundee. Neil McCann says he's been working with the players. They're absolutely flying. He's got a formation, he's got a game plan. Today he's got to try and execute that against Motherwell. Kevin Harper is there.
A difficult game, I think, for Dundee, Peter, but I think with a new manager you always get a lift, and that's what happens. They need a lift from somewhere to get out of that that second bottom spot. But Motherwell are good vein of form, winning 4-2 in the last home game, and they'll be looking to continue that form today.
What about the team news once again, Kevin, before this one?
Yeah, one change for Motherwell. Lasley comes in for Pearson, and Dundee have made three changes from the 2-0 defeat at Hamilton. Out go Higgins, Kerr and back Tui, and in come O'Hara, Ross and Gomez. So Neil McCann's looking to put his mark on the team right away.
Okay, who's going to win it, Kevin?
For me, Peter, I think Dundee will just get that lift. They need the points, and with the new manager Neil McCann coming in, I fancy them, but my predictions of recent have been terrible, so I wouldn't. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't put any money on it though.
Yeah, and if I can give Kevin a wee tip, Ruffy, the worst thing to do is stick your team sheets over too far away from your arm, because when it gets windy, Ruffy, as you know, they can blow away, and suddenly, if you've got nothing in your head, there's the 1,000-yard stare. It happens to you. The amount of reporters I've worked with who suddenly just go,
and the days as well when you had to phone in your copy, you'd have all your notes. There was no computers, nothing stood. You'd have all your carefully crafted notes sort of sitting on the table, and then breezing down over Tannadice into the wind, your thoughts going.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks to Kevin there. We'll be back at Fir Park half time for Motherwell against Dundee, and in fact here are the implications for Motherwell and Dundee of possible defeat today for either side. There's the champion, there's the Premiership table, I beg your pardon. First of all, top 36 points between Celtic and Rangers in third place, Gordon Smith, and at the bottom end, Inverness's 4-0 thumping from Ross County. I think Ross County can now start to think about just getting as many points as possible, looking to next season in the Premiership.
Absolutely. I mean, it was quite funny when Lee McCullough's interview, he said we're 7th place, but that must have been done yesterday afternoon, because they're now 8th, but there's nothing in it at all. I mean, all the teams at the bottom of that division, I think above Inverness. Inverness, as Ruffy says, they could get a result, could fight their way back in, but it seems to be going beyond them because they're not picking up any wins. I mean, they haven't won now since 8 games. They've had the last 3 defeats and 3 draws and a defeat before that. So I think Inverness are the struggling team. So the big fight is on, I think, for the playoff place. And you're looking at Ross County, obviously got the points last night, went 7th, but there's only a 6-point gap between them and Dundee. So there's everything to play for. And the great thing, the one good thing about the structure of the league now with the split means that all the teams play against each other. I think that's a good aspect of it. Then they all know who they've got. They can take points off each other. And I think there's big games today. What we mentioned, Kilmarnock and Hamilton is certainly one. Motherwell, Dundee. All those games are crucial in terms of who gets the points today.
Yeah, okay, give me your prediction. In fact, just before you give me your prediction, Ruffy, what's our treble today?
The treble today is Falkirk, St Mirren and Livingston.
Yeah, but I've been taking St Mirren regularly on a Saturday for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I feel fairly confident about it, Hugh. But let's first of all go to you, Hugh. It's a good win for Celtic, an emphatic win. The fallout from that will be discussed throughout the afternoon. What about Aberdeen St Johnstone? This is a big day for Aberdeen.
I think it's a big day for Aberdeen. I think St Johnstone regularly can cause problems for Aberdeen. I just think, given that result this morning, given what's on the line, I'll take Aberdeen to win.
Yep, and as we look at the fixtures, Gordon, who are you going to take, Aberdeen or St Johnstone?
I would take Aberdeen. I mean, to be fair, of St Johnstone, I mentioned it in last week's programme, they're the team, one of the teams in the Premier Division who actually have better away wins than they've got home. But I think on this occasion, I think Aberdeen, because it's a crucial game, they'll be fired up for it. Although it was a 0-0 draw, I'm going to take Aberdeen today.
Ruffy?
St Johnstone without Stevie McLean, I'm going to go for Aberdeen.
Okay, what about Hamilton Kilmarnock here?
I think that's a draw. I think Hamilton will be desperate to get something from the match. I think they're very sort of doughty at home. They're not a team that scores a lot of goals, Hamilton, but I'll take them for a draw.
Okay, Gordon?
Yeah, I think a draw would probably be the best bet in that one myself. I think that's what it's going to be.
Stonewall, one each.
Stonewall, one. Brilliant. Okay, Hearts against Partick Thistle, Ruffy?
One each again.
I think it depends what Partick. We mentioned before that they dipped after getting reached. They reached their goal, which was top 6. Alan Archibald will be trying to get them going again, but I just think you can't really predict what Hearts are like. But so I'm going to take Hearts to win this game today.
I've got a sneaky wee feeling that Partick will get something out of this game today. I really do. I think the Thistle might just get something out of that game, so I'll take Partick just to sneak it rather than just a draw.
Okay, we will be going throughout the afternoon to Des McKeown at the Paisley 2021 Stadium. Is it the 2021 or the 2020?
2021.
2021. I had a feeling, I just a digit out here or there, you know. But we'll be going there throughout the afternoon, getting updates from Des in the Championship, where there are so many games that mean so much, top and bottom. So who's winning it then for you, Ruffy? St Mirren or Raith Rovers?
I think St Mirren will win this one.
Yeah.
I think they won quite comfortably against Ayr United. Disappointing against Dumbarton at home, but I think they've got the players to win this one. I think Raith Rovers playing in midweek might go against them.
Yeah, they're the game midweek, and I understand it's a game they should have won, but I mean they didn't, and they weren't even against the top Hibs team in that match. So I feel the same. I think this is so crucial. I think St Mirren will win this one.
I'm confident in St Mirren victory for the reasons, not only the way, not only the fact that they lost in midweek Raith Rovers, but the way they lost. What a sickener!
You'll never believe this, Hugh, but we had Campbell Money and Tony Fitzpatrick on the programme as guests in the boot room in midweek. And someone sent us a message saying, I can't believe this programme, you're so biased towards St Mirren. And I thought, wow, you usually get it one way or another for the top teams, but...
Yeah.
Well, there's been criticism, because at Christmas I wrote St Mirren completely off, and we've had criticism for that. But what I would say was that the turnaround in St Mirren has been dramatic. I think they played the transfer window very cutely and did well, but... I think St Mirren, I think if you look at Raith's form, certainly since Christmas, there's nothing there that really would energise a Kirkcaldy supporter. So I think St Mirren will win, and I think they might win quite comfortably.
Okay, Falkirk Queen of the South, Ruffy?
Falkirk, I think they got the win last week. I think Queen of the South, they went off the boil a wee bit. I think Falkirk and Dundee United are trying to get that second place, so I'm going to go for Falkirk.
Yeah, I mean, it was a draw the last time they played at home. Falkirk and Queen's drew 2 each, but I just think because Falkirk want to get that second place too, I think they'll be fired up for it. And I hope I'm right, because that's my tip today.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be the same. I think Falkirk gets strong at this time of the season. Good manager, experience, looking towards the playoffs. You know, coming up with strategies there. I think Falkirk will.
And Dunfermline Morton has just kicked off. Hugh, who are you going for?
Well, Morton have been, you know, the year's gone out of Morton, hasn't it? And it hasn't in Dunfermline. I think Alan Johnson's really had a very successful season there. They've stayed up comfortably, which I think would have been his first priority. And I think Dunfermline might sneak that today, Peter.
I think if anybody's going to win it, I think it would be Dunfermline. I'm going to go for a draw in that game. I think it'll be a draw.
Yeah, I think Jim Duffy will start resting some players. I think they've got 4th place, and I think the important thing is getting everybody ready for the playoffs. So I'll probably give the advantage to Dunfermline.
Okay, this afternoon, throughout the afternoon, here on STV2, we are delighted that we have new supporters with us from Aberdeen, Dundee and Ayr to join our already substantially growing Edinburgh and Glasgow fan base. every Saturday, 2 o'clock till 6. We concentrate on Scottish football. We will pay heed to what's happening in the English Premier League as well. We'll bring you extensively at half-time all the scores from all divisions across the UK. But throughout the afternoon at key games, Kevin Harper out there at Motherwell Dundee and Des McKeown at St Mirren against Raith Rovers will keep you up to date. If you want to interact with us, you can at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. We'd love to hear from you. Give us your thoughts on the fallout from that game today. A dramatic ending to it all. 5-1 to Celtic, the biggest win at Ibrox in, a century and more. The last time they did that was 1898. It's a long time ago. 5-1. Kenny Miller with the consolation but of the 5 goals. Sinclair, Griffiths, McGregor, Boyata and Lustig scoring the goals. And Brendan Rodgers has already said that he's disappointed. It should have been more throughout the game. And I think there are many areas to discuss in this one. As Gordon points out, something that's already kicked off in one of our games.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 minutes gone and Dunfermline are 1 up on Morton. So we talked about that being a game, Morton not being in the best of form and all that, but Nicky Clark scored and put Dunfermline ahead.
Yeah, Morton just seemed to have, I don't know what's happened to them. Kevin Harper was at the game a couple of weeks ago, said they looked tired. Jim Duffy, I cannot believe he's allowing them to switch off, because it's not something you can actually switch on when it comes to the playoffs.
No, they'll need to take a deep breath and regroup for the playoffs and say, right, this is our season starting again, almost like the NFL. They do that, you know, the regular season starts in the post-season, as they call it, when it goes into playoff games. So they'll really have to I think, just like sort of look at themselves, re-energise themselves, because they're actually performing the way we expected Morton to have performed at the beginning of the season.
It's hard to get themselves going, because you know what you generally found. I mean, we were back to doing the playoffs scenario. I remember checking out English games in previous years, and it was actually quite often a team that just made it into the playoffs because of a great run became, because of their form and the momentum they had, quite a few of them, Peter, actually ended up winning the playoff and getting into the Premiership, you know what I mean? Because
they were on a run.
They were on a run, and other teams who were up there and maybe just their form dipped a bit, they were resting players, they lost that momentum. So this might be what's happening to Morton just now.
Yep, some of the messages we're getting on Twitter. Brian says, Brendan Rodgers seems to be a great tactician as well as a motivator. When Armstrong goes off, Celtic seem to lose their way a little bit, but it didn't seem to make one iota of difference, Ruffy.
No, it didn't. We've already touched on what's on the bench at Celtic, and everybody's desperate to get a game. It doesn't matter who comes off, whoever comes on, maybe not be as good, but they're not far behind them, and they can still offer something in that Celtic team. The thing I've noticed more about Celtic is the pace now that they're playing at. They're playing at a tempo that is sort of a counter-attacking, but I mean, it's a European style where they soak up the pressure, and then once they've got possession, they keep hold of the ball. I don't know what the possession was at the end of the game. It was something like 70-30 in the first half, but in the second half, what they do is they seem to keep possession of the ball. They're quite happy to make 20-25 passes, and if you've got possession of the ball, obviously the other team's not going to score, and that's the way they've played.
No, was a key factor of that, and I noticed it today in their play, is the support they give each other. See, when a player's on the ball, he had loads of options. So that's why a lot of the passing movements was just a one touch, and they tore Rangers apart because of the options, people in the right position, able to take a pass, and as soon as they got it, somebody else was available. And Celtic, I mean, many times did we see a move, they went all the way, maybe right from halfway line, right into the box, whereby it was all one-touch passes.
The other thing as well is they targeted Rangers very early on. Rangers were determined to play out from the back. You know, this is obviously, and this is the mantra for all teams now, but you can only play out from the back if your boys that are receiving the ball are very comfortable in possession. And Celtic said to themselves this, and don't anybody think different. Celtic in the dressing room have said to themselves, we're just going to go for broke on pressing these guys, because these guys can't keep the ball. These guys are not going to be clever and play through it.
And they were forced into a lot of errors, weren't they?
Absolutely. Another thing they've added to their game that all the big teams do, and particularly Barcelona, is the ability to get the ball back. You know, they hunt in packs,
Quickly get it back.
packs, and they're all about whoever's shutting down. Then all of a sudden they've got possession, and then they're making these 50, 20 passes, and then gradually working up the top.
Celtic did that well today. You're absolutely right.
Yep. There's a tweet here at Peter and Ruffy. Fraser says, ask Gordon Smith which players he would keep at Ibrox.
Well, it's hard to say at the moment because I say it in a better. I think I would judge it and say, looking through the team, you're probably saying the goalkeeper, Wilson, young lad Bierman, Tavernier probably I would as well. Midfield, I'm not sure. I would think I can't think of many.
Any of them?
I can't think of any of them. Mackay definitely. I would keep Mackay, but he's more or less like an attacking midfield player. Miller's staying, obviously. I'm not even Wycorn and Garner. I think are not good enough. I think they need to make changes. I mean, we even spoke earlier on, Peter. You mentioned it. Somebody like Boyce at Ross County has got 21 goals. There's nobody at Rangers matched up to that, and he's playing a team that's down like in the bottom half of the league, struggling and all that, and he can score 21 goals.
But you see, that's what the big question is. What kind of players are we talking about? Are Rangers bringing in? Are they going to start identifying Scottish players? Are they going to go for foreign players? They could go for the boy McGinn.
Yeah,
there's players like that out there, but what is the money? What is
talking about McLean, wasn't it? Aberdeen's been mentioned.
Have you got $1 million?
Well, I think the funniest line was from Adam Rooney. He said, you know, Rangers have been linked with every Aberdeen player near enough, but it's not about who you're linked with. I mean, I could probably from now until July, you know, just have 50, 60 back pages with everybody taking, you know, a throw of the dice to come up with a name. It's whether they've got the money to back this manager, and I am almost certain, Hugh, I said it to you a couple of weeks ago, managers who come from out with this country tend to go with things that they know. So I suspect there'll be a couple of Portuguese people coming in shortly. I mean, and then you're wondering, does he have a good enough grasp of the Scottish market to try and build a team? Yeah,
because let's be frank today, you know, I think Caixinha in the last 2 games has got his tactics horribly wrong. But that's not why, you know, this is not the sole reason, you know, that Rangers didn't win today. Rangers didn't win today because Celtic have got better players. And better players throughout the team. Just there's not a Rangers player that I think, including Kenny Miller, that would be anywhere near a Celtic squad. And that may look a bit controversial, but I just think Celtic have got depth. Great big goal for Queen of the South, Peter. 1-0 up at New Brockville against Falkirk. I just think the depth of what Rangers have got to address is the quality of the player, and that is going to take money. And the real thing, I mean, there's so many. Livingston scored as well, so the coupon's looking bad and good. But you know, there's got to have to be a clear out at Rangers. And the thing for Rangers is that all these guys are on contracts. They're all on contracts, so they've got to try and shift them before they move them. Has Caixinha been told you're getting X amount of money? Because he should be, and Gordon has fulfilled this role and has been inside clubs. I haven't, but recruitment should be going underway now.
Well, one of the things you got,
Peter's right, because you know the Broughton there, the guy in Broughton there is a Portuguese agent. So you would think
it's Pedro Mendes.
Pedro Mendes is going to be given the job of identifying, and he's obviously, as Peter said, going to go back to Portugal and identify, maybe not in Portugal.
Well, Kilmarnock have scored. Kilmarnock 1-0 up at Hamilton. But you know what you're saying? Is absolutely right. See, in terms of recruitment, if you've not got the money, which Rangers don't at the moment, to compete with Celtic, then you should also be looking at the market. There's a big market for players who are out of contract. So that's what they should be looking at in advance, of saying, right, okay, we're getting towards a time when it should have maybe been happening in January, when they're already looking at players to say, right, who can we identify here who's good enough, who's out of contract? Because then, you know, when you're looking at spend is going to have to be big in certain circumstances. I mean, see, to spend the kind of money probably Rangers have got, they're going to have to maybe look in Scotland or in the lower divisions in England, because you look at the money that now you take the boy
Dorrans wasn't a bad shout.
Yeah, Dorrans was mentioned.
If he's out of contract, because he's the kind of he's Scottish, he'll know what Rangers are about.
Yeah,
and then it's all down to wages.
I'll tell you who's not a good shout. When I heard the name Kyle Lafferty, I thought, I don't think that's the way ahead for Rangers to go back the way to certain players that I think are quite happy to sit in the Norwich City reserves. I think Rangers obviously don't need to pay top drawer for players that just don't seem to have that hunger. I think they need hungry players. They need players who understand what this division is all about, and they need to be playing for the jersey as well. Of course, they need to have the technical ability, because as many a manager will tell you, you can have all the great formations, the tactics, a game plan, but if you haven't got the players to actually fulfil that, then you are struggling. And quite clearly, I think the story of today, unless you want to disagree with me, the story of today is quite simply Rangers don't have good enough players to contest the title at the moment, or indeed close the gap on Aberdeen, or indeed to take 3 points off Celtic. You can give us your view on that at Peter and Ruffy as well. I can tell you that Stephen Dobby's got his 25th goal of the season. That's how good Stephen Dobby is. It surprised a few people. He wants to go back to Queen of the South. He's got an affiliation and a love for that club. They're 1-0 up on Falkirk. And Connor Salmon, he struggled at Hearts. He's got his 5th goal of the season in that match against Hamilton Accies at home, where it's just the Accies. They'll stick by Martin Canning, but this season's been tough for them against you.
Yeah, but that's going back to every season in the top flight, even if they survive this season, it's going to be tough every season for Hamilton, because this game more and more is a game of budgets. It's a game of, it's a game of pounds, shillings and pence. The teams with the better budget should be getting the better results, so they're always going to struggle. But it's a big blow. They'll have to. I think Hamilton, as I say, I've tipped them to be in that playoff spot, but to get out of it, they've got to get something out of that today. On a wee aside, Annan are running away with it against Montrose, which is an interesting result.
15 minutes gone.
15 minutes gone, and they're 3-0 up.
Montrose as well. That's quite a big surprise, because Montrose are in that playoff position at the moment, but they could lose it. They're not as if they're comfortably in there, so getting beaten by Annan. The thing I was going to say about Connor Salmon, Peter, as well, is that I think Lee McCall's done well with him, because rather than putting him up as the out-and-out striker now in the team, he's actually playing him slightly off it, deeper, and he's been putting in a good work rate, and I think the pressure being off him to be the goal scorer has actually helped his form, and he's getting goals because of that. So I think he's been a
he's gone back to a place where he's done well as well, which is always comforting psychologically as well.
Yeah, I'd love to be a Montrose fan at the moment, wondering what's happening. They're unbeaten in 5 wins out of the last 6. They're 3-0 down, and I think if I was a Montrose fan right now, Ruffy, I'd be looking at the rest of them and say, let's all get back into the minibus and head home. This isn't working out for us.
And there's only a point between them and Annan. Annan only a point ahead of them, and you're absolutely right, Peter. Last 6 games, 1 defeat and 5 wins. What's going on there? You think, what are they doing?
It's a wee bit early to go out and go up the road.
It's a long trip down there.
The pub first.
Yeah. I like your way of thinking, Ruffy. Yeah, absolutely. Which I like that way of thinking, but unfortunately when Gordon and myself decided to go up north with Ruffy, when we headed back down, he suggested a great chippy for us, Gordon, but unfortunately we needed a hacksaw to get through the fish. I'll never forget that day. Do you remember that day?
I do remember it well.
It was just unbelievable. He offered to pay, to try and revive the fish, but it just nothing could be saved with that day. As far as this afternoon is concerned, lots of people coming in with messages. George on Facebook has mentioned here. He says, I've watched the Old Firm game. If I was a Rangers fan, I'd clear the whole team out except Kenny Miller. I'm a Hibs man. I'm looking at the Rangers team. We've got no worries for next season coming up against them. Yes, there will be new players in, but can they afford to replace nearly a full Rangers team? No fight, no quality. Celtic had the slippers on. It was so easy. And the reason why that kind of resonates with me was we had a Celtic fan on yesterday, Hugh, who basically said it's going to be an easy win. In fact, they could get the slippers on, and I thought maybe he's being a little bit disrespectful to Rangers at home. But boy, he's nailed it.
He's nailed it. And the interesting thing, if you talk to Celtic fans as well, and a level of Celtic fan who will be saying they were looking at the league table and they say, this isn't. We're not playing great rivals now. It might be historically great rivals. We're playing a team that's round about where St Johnstone are in the league. So would Celtic go to McDermott Park expecting to win? Yes. Could they get beat? Of course they could. Of course they could get beaten. But they would go. You would think they would go regularly to McDermott Park, and Annan are now going 4-0
in 18 minutes.
Where is that chippy that they can go to?
So that's Strother it was.
So I don't know if Montrose are playing in a diamond or what, but anyway.
You're a bad man, Hugh McDonald.
But
it's not a diamond, it's a shovel.
But I mean, going back to that point, it is. You know, people will always, when the name Rangers come up, will say, "Oh, the Rangers." What you've got to look at is the results. You've got to look at the playing squad. If you look at, I thought the Rangers team today when I was looking, and there's nothing to do with it. If everybody shouts about put a shift in that, but if you actually just look at quality, I thought they were really short in quality.
They look bad, but I would still make the point, Hugh, and I've said it before, that with the right structure, the right tactics, I've seen it so often. A certain group of players who you can write off and say they're not good enough. You suddenly play in a different way, different style, and those players are and there are some even in the Celtic team just now who were written off.
Exactly, that's a good point. I mean, the good point is that managers are there not only to set up tactics and formations that suit players, which is pretty crucial, but it's to coach players. And we were talking about this the other week there. I mean, you look at it today, 3 of players today that, you know, Scotland fans will be desperate to get in the team. Now McGregor looks like a Scotland player.
Outstanding.
Armstrong, absolutely outstanding. And Scott Brown, outstanding. Peter, we were talking about, there would be Celtic fans, one of them be me anyway, certainly with Scott Brown, who wanted them binned.
Yeah, they were saying Scott Brown was finished.
I did.
Yeah, and you're looking at a scenario there where Armstrong was, Celtic fans are saying, hasn't done the job, needs to go. And then McGregor, as mentioned there, he was also a young player. You know, is he going to be good enough today? Outstanding, I feel.
Yeah, OK. From Rangers Celtic, we'll continue that. You can interact with us on that. We're off to St Mirren Park. What's happening there? Des McKeown.
Peter, we're 18 minutes in here at the Paisley 2021 Stadium, and I've got a lovely big blank piece of white paper with absolutely no ink on it because nothing has happened. Absolutely hee-haw. It's a wee game of chess here between Jack Ross and John Yogi Hughes. Both players kind of trying to find their way in the game. Nothing of any note whatsoever. However, I have to tell you, prior to kick-off, a quite fantastic little minute's applause for every St Mirren fan who has passed away in the last year. First time I've seen it. Standing ovation, minutes applause, every single fan, St Mirren fan who's passed away in the last year, name up on the big screen behind us and announced by the PA system. That's been the most memorable part of the first 19 minutes of this game here in Paisley, and we'll wait and see if it can develop any further, but still goalless at the Paisley 2021 Stadium.
Yeah, good point that you made there, Des. I think, Ruffy, it's a key issue that a number of clubs are actually reconnecting in a stronger way, the links with the community, understanding that you must get people on board, sentiment, nostalgia, the future, bringing people together as a family.
Yeah, I think for a while, I think the club's lost that contact with the supporters, but now you see obviously Hibs winning the cup and taking it round the community, and if you go to most clubs, Partick Thistle, Hearts, whatever, there is a community involvement there, and it's right down for the academies all the way up, and the supporters, I think obviously, when you do that, when things go bad and you're going through a tough spell, that's the kind of things that help you get away with it for a wee while, you know, because they appreciate what you're doing.
St Mirren are basically fan-owned, as you know. I mean, Gordon Scott, the chairman, he's acting as the guarantor in shorthand, in business shorthand there, and the fans are all on board. There's people there paying a standing order every month to keep the club going and to keep the club successful. So, yeah, a nice touch there at St Mirren, but the fans will be even more pleased if they can get 3 points today, because it's crucial to the development of the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Pittman has scored his 9th goal of the season. Livingston 2, Peterhead 0. It's been great for Livy fans this season under David Hopkin. It's all gone according to plan. They were looking towards the next division up for them, which I think is going to be a huge season for them. I've watched Livingston down through the years. In fact, when I was in the company of Stuart Lovell the other day there, I can remember, you know, Livingston going to a League Cup final against Hibernian and coming out on top.
That's right. I know they were one of the top sides for a while. There was a bit of money getting thrown at them, as we all know, though. That was the main factor of it. I think that they were able to bring in players that were, normally teams at that level would never have been able to sign. So that made a big difference. But it's been a great season this season from him, and leading 2-0 against Peterhead. The strange thing about it is that one of the games they've lost this season have had a great run, but they actually lost at home to Peterhead the last time they played. But the 2 games up at Peterhead, Livingston won both of them. So far, it's been the away team that's been successful in the Livingston-Peterhead scenario. But today it looks differently. That Livingston, and that's the one we were talking earlier on here about the fact that they achieved their goal, Livingston promotion. But to be fair to them, since then even they've still been getting results since they won the league. They're still winning games,
and they've got a good setup in there where they're largely full time as well, which I think is absolutely crucial. But if you're largely full time, the question is asked of you. You must win the championship then, and they've stood up to that. Peterhead, on the other hand, because they've got players from all over Scotland, find it very difficult to even train, never mind be full time. So it's an interesting juxtaposition in the league. I'm a bit surprised at Peterhead this year because they're really struggling now, and I've got a lot of time for the manager Jim McInally and what he does, and I would never have thought at the beginning of the season they'd be at that end of the table.
It's so inconsistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It started at the end of last season, actually. They went on a bad run just before the end of the season. But there's Kilmarnock have scored again. That's big goal for Kilmarnock, 2-0 up at Hamilton. That's a crucial one. I say Lee McCullough's done a good job, I think, since he's gone there. And I think that more or less this win today would guarantee they're not going to be in the relegation battle, but it makes them stronger even for the playoff scenario. This would be a very good win. Take them back into 7th spot.
Yeah. Yep. And the other thing as well is you can't see Hamilton coming back from that because they don't score goals.
They don't score enough goals, you're right. Yeah.
Jordan Jones has made it 2-0 for Kilmarnock, and Ollie Shaw has got the crucial goal. Queen's Park 0, Stenhousemuir 1. That's us keeping you up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net. Still no goals in Motherwell Dundee. Tense, Ruffy, to say at the very least. I'll be curious to see what Kevin Harper has to say about the way Neil McCann has set his Dundee side out.
Yeah, I think it might be obviously the case that they've been losing goals left, right and centre. They've decided just to sit in, weather the storm, if they can do that and then build on it and try and nick something. That might be the way ahead, but he'll want to take something out of this game. A new manager coming in, if he can get anything positive at all, he'll think he can build on that.
Okay, keeping you up to date with all the goals, and of course a lot of reaction coming in to what's happening with the scoreline from Ibrox. We will hear from Brendan Rodgers and Pedro Caixinha in this programme, and they'll be offering their thoughts on what was unveiled over the 90 minutes. I think the general consensus from Rangers fans that we're getting on Twitter and Facebook is, a clear out. Some players just not up to it. Maybe Kenny Miller getting pass marks. Scored a goal at the end, a consolation. The feeling from Brendan Rodgers was that they should have scored more goals. Should Callum McGregor be a serious contender for a Scotland place in the big match coming up on June 10th? Gordon Strachan always likes players playing regular first-team football at a high level, which would suggest that he's surely a serious consideration, Hugh.
Yeah, what I think marks him out is his feet. He's very quick feet and he retains possession in very tight areas, and he also has the ability to play. He's got the ability to score goals and make killer passes. But he's got the very strong ability to retain possession and play short passes and keep it going, linking up play, and that's going to be really important against England because England are full of pace, full of energy. I mean, everybody talks down the England team. Yeah, they don't do well in finals of major tournaments, but they do exceedingly well in qualifying. This is a hugely difficult task.
What's quite interesting, Hugh, is the fact that, in days gone by, a lot of times we knew the situation years gone by when they had Miller and McLeish together because they were a partnership at club level. You all of a sudden got 3 players at club level now. Brown will probably play against England. Armstrong as well. So you're looking at a thing. I know we're strong in the midfield area, but Gordon Strachan might just consider this guy's used to playing with these other 2. There's 3 of them are very much a unit. Do you know what I mean? In that midfield. So he might consider, if he's going to play the other 2, he might just think, McGregor could get in and play along with him.
Well, it's a good shout. Ruffy, I was just about to ask you there. I'm asking on Twitter what disappointed you about the Rangers team today. So many of them are just replying the team. There's one reply here from Thomas Urquhart who basically says it was Celtic against Kenny Miller today.
It looked that way on the television, that Kenny Miller's got all the enthusiasm. He was organising as we thought, but I was thinking he was dropping too deep. I know he scored a wonderful goal, but for me...
He was asked to play there.
Yeah, I know.
That was his role.
And he has got the energy to play in there, but I mean... For me, Kenny Miller's a striker. I want him round about the box, the 18-yard box, and being sharper than the opposition defenders. But yeah, he was the main man. You looked at me, I was looking at some star ratings there from some people who were at the game, and I think the most any Rangers player got was 3 out of 10.
Really?
And I don't think you could argue with that. They were so off the pace, and you see, for me, the wee boy Hyman is going to be a wonderful player, and he's good against the lesser teams. But today, he just looked like what he is, just a young boy learning his trade, and wasn't he physical enough, against the Celtic midfield.
Ruffy, Ayr 0, Hibernian 1. Jason Cummings with his 22nd goal of the season.
Well, obviously that's a good result for everybody else down the bottom. Hibs winning that game, not for Ayr United, obviously, but.
I think we can switch out to Paisley now because there's been a bit of drama there between St Mirren and Raith Rovers. Let's hope, fingers crossed, we can hear him. Des McKeown.
Paisley 2021 Stadium at St Mirren 1, Raith Rovers 0. Cammy Smith latched onto a ball down the right hand side, drilled it back into the box. Stevie Mallon drives it past the goalkeeper. 1-0 St Mirren here in Paisley.
What a crucial goal that is. That just lifts it. You can tell by the noise in the background, everybody going absolutely crazy, Hugh.
That's a crucial goal. And now, I mean, if the results were to stay the same, and that's not impossible. The score lines might change, but if the results were to stay the same, you'd be looking at Raith and Ayr, fighting out the who gets into the playoffs and who goes down automatically. I expected St Mirren to win today. I think Raith, now it's got to be any clever little tactics that John Hughes has dreamed up. It has to be sort of shredded and say, we have to get back into this game. We have to get a goal, whether it means rearranging the team to get more up front or whatever. Because they've got to leave Paisley today with something.
No goals between Hearts and Partick Thistle, Ruffy. Niall Keown's had a couple of chances, maybe a soft header which was easily saved by Jack Hamilton. Hearts again, nice build-up
Hibs have
play.
Scored again, Peter.
And can I tell you,
2-0 for Hibs. So Ayr in a bit of bother now at home.
Well, that I think will be pleasing to the ears of the St Mirren fans. Let's go back to St Mirren and just see if that's filtering through and get the thoughts of Des McKeown. Des, no sooner do you get a goal there than suddenly Ayr go 2 down to Hibernian.
Yeah, I don't think that's filtered through here yet, Peter, and to be honest, I think the St Mirren fans are only interested in their own result today. I know that might sound silly, but they're so focused in this game here, and the main stand, or we're in the main stand, but the stand directly across from us, stand behind the goals down to my left hand side, absolutely jam-packed with St Mirren fans today. So from that perspective, I think they're just concentrating on getting 3 points here today, and they'll find out the bonus if Hibs defeat Ayr United today. So yeah, concentrating on their own game today, still 1-0 St Mirren.
And in a strange sort of way, Ruffy, the way the results pan out today, by the time the St Mirren fans head home, they'll be looking on and wondering if Dundee United can do them a right turn as well, because suddenly they'll be climbing the table. They could be up as high as 7th if it all goes according to plan. Yeah,
you would expect Dundee United possibly to beat Dumbarton at home, although we know that Dumbarton can come up with the odd scary result you don't expect, but I would think Dundee, as we touched earlier, going for that second place with Falkirk. Obviously Falkirk at this moment in time getting beaten, so a win for Dundee United today, if it stayed the same, would be very positive for them.
And the key aspect of it as well is that if St Mirren were to beat Raith today and Ayr were to lose, they play each other next week, so they can't both pick up the points. So by St Mirren being in that position, it means they're guaranteed then to stay up. I mean, they could still be getting to the playoff spot, Peter, if Raith were to beat Ayr and St Mirren lost to Hibs, for example, next Saturday, then St Mirren would be second bottom, right? But the thing about it is, as I say, if these scorelines stay the same as they are right now, then St Mirren have guaranteed that they're not relegated.
Yeah, here's a bit of good news that I think we'd like to share with you. A Scottish player who's had terrible problems with injury. Stevie May has made his first appearance for Preston North End. He's been out since October 2015.
Just at that moment, Peter, Falkirk have equalised against Queen of the South. Stevie May, we're talking about Aberdeen versus St Johnstone today. I remember watching a cup semi-final, Scottish Cup semi-final, when May on his own, with a clever piece of team shape from Tommy Wright, put Aberdeen to the sword that day. He was outstanding that day, and you thought, this is a player with that old cliche, the world at his feet, and he's just been hammered with injuries. So good to see him back, and good to see him. He's a good guy. He's one of the good guys as well. So always good to see a good bag back.
Yep, it didn't quite work out for him at Sheffield Wednesday, but maybe he'll find his way at a very good club indeed, Preston North End. So Falkirk 1, Queen of the South 1, as Hugh mentioned to you there. I'll bring you the goal scorer just shortly. I think it's Blair Alston who's... in fact, Nathan Austin has got it. I think just checking there on the teleprinter. There it is, Robbie. Nathan Austin. Thank you. Nathan Austin.
It would have been a hell of a strike for Aberdeen.
Exactly. Just looking there and trying to get it out as quickly as I possibly could, but that's what happens.
Just like Peter, it's not the biggest of games down in England in the Premier League today, but not a goal. I mean, 35 minutes gone in most of the 4 games, and they're all 0-0. Southampton. I think if Sunderland lose today, they are relegated. I think, aren't they? Unless they win. So there's nothing in it at all in those games, but there are no goals at all in England.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a poor league.
Yeah.
It's a wash with money. Clyde 1, Berwick 0. And David Gormley has scored the goal there for Clyde. Can I just get your thoughts, Ruffy, on the news that Albion Rovers have decided to part company with Darren Young at the end of the season? I feel a tremendous amount of sympathy for him because, he had a chance to get out of that club and stayed loyal to them. But as you know, there's no loyalty in football.
Yeah, there seems to be, just from the outside looking in, something going on behind the scenes. Obviously, we don't know internally what's been happening, but it's strange to sort of announce something like that just now, whether it's his decision or whether it's the club's decision, because I think we all thought they were doing particularly well. They looked as if they were getting better organised off the park and on the park, playing with a lot of young boys with Billy Stark there. So I think there's more to come out of that than meets the eye. I know everybody sets standards of where you want to be in, if you want to be in the playoffs or whatever, but I think there's maybe a wee bit more.
They were doing pretty well, Ruff, you're absolutely right, until the last 2 games. They've lost their last 2 matches, but before that they were on a good wee run. They were unbeaten for quite a few games, and it seems as if they were going to be challenging for one of the actual playoff spots. They're only 4 points off a playoff spot, and it looked like that, but all of a sudden to say, he's been moved on. I don't think it's his decision. I think he has been just told he's out. Yeah.
Okay. It'd be nice to know the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're bringing somebody else in, that's maybe the reason.
Yeah. Are you happy with that, Ruffy?
No.
No, I didn't think you were. I could tell by your face that you weren't happy with that from Gordon. Gordon Smith, Hugh McDonald and Alan Ruff are with us on this Saturday afternoon. If the goals hit the back of the net down south, they're in short supply. We'll give you an extensive look at all the divisions down south and across all 4 divisions in Scotland at half time. We're keeping our eye on what's happening in the Premiership at the bottom end. We'll hear from Kevin Harper, who's at Fir Park for Motherwell against Dundee. Still no breakthrough in that match either, and it could be one of those games where just 1 goal decides it. We'll get a flavour of how Neil McCann's team are performing in his first game in charge. 5 games to save the Dark Blues from the dreaded drop into the Championship, or indeed a nervy playoff it could be against, would you believe, Dundee United. That really would be, a spectacle for a game, but not, I think, great for I'm going to say me, because I'd like to see both Dundee teams in the top flight.
It'd be great for the broadcasters though, and you know, that would be a match and a half. They would love that. I would like to see both Dundee teams in as well, but as you know, and we're both agreed in this, Peter, as well, it's all about merit, isn't it? It's all about you know, the merits of either team. I've just got a funny feeling that Dundee will get out of it. You know, they'll get out of that bottom position. I think Neil McCann will come in and just do enough. I think Inverness, Cali are gone completely, and I think that Hamilton will be the playoff team. That's my views.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think Inverness will be the team that will be relegated, to be honest with you. But as I say, it's a bit of a fight. Hamilton, not so good today. They're a wee bit kind of inconsistent, Hamilton. You never know what you're going to get from them. Kilmarnock looking good. Dunfermline, Morton have equalised against Dunfermline. They were down 1-0. They've got back in the game, one each. But I think that it's still hard to determine who will be down there. If Dundee were to get a win today, Motherwell are still right in it. They're at the bottom. But you see, you're talking about, I mean, Falkirk could be the team that actually gets through in the playoffs and playing Dundee and knocks them out. And then you end up with, you do get a Dundee derby, but it's in a lower division in the Championship.
Yeah, OK. I can tell you that Lawrence Shanklin has got the equaliser for Morton. He seems to have settled there.
It's interesting. One of these interesting players, Peter. He scores a lot of goals in the Championship, and at one point somebody's got to make a decision. They may even have to make a decision himself. That is he a Championship player? Is that his level? Because he's still fairly young. Or can he translate that form in the Championship into the Premiership? I think most people will look at him and say maybe just lacks that wee bit half yard of pace. But he certainly can score goals, and people who lack that wee half yard of pace sometimes become very, very clever in their movement and their ability to score goals. So in the close season, he'll be another one I'll be looking at to see, what precisely where he goes and what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him on a number of occasions. I've gone down to Capello this season and watched him, and he was at St Mirren too. He's been shunted about from pillar to post, Gordon, and it's fine, one or two. I think once after a period of time, you actually have to think to yourself, well, it's hard to take being told what level that you're actually half decent at.
I think the thing about him is, and I would say this in terms of games I've seen him in, he's not consistent enough in terms of the ability he's got. There's certain games you look at and you go, well, he looks as if he could be a top class player. Then you see him in another game and he doesn't do it. He's very quiet, he's not in the game. So I think that he's got ability wise, he's got it to be at a good level, but as I say, he needs to be able to offer a bit more, as I say, more of a consistency.
I think it might be Aberdeen that have to make the decision to cut him loose. And obviously they've got to decide, okay, they've got Rooney, they've got the strikers that they're bringing in, I know he's a young player, but is he at that level going to make it? So it might be them that make the decision rather than him.
Yeah, he's certainly not going to. I hope I'm not doing the boy a disservice. I don't think he's at the level that Aberdeen and Derek McInnes are looking at for the summer. I'm going to be really interested in, if you're looking at where he's going, I'm looking at what Derek McInnes is going to do, because pound for pound, they've made some really good signings, and everybody will be focusing on the type of player he brings in that can hold off Rangers and close the gap on Celtic as well. Let's not forget, Aberdeen want to close the gap on Celtic, Gordon.
Yeah, definitely.
OK, there's a goal at St Mirren. Let's go there and hear from Des McKeown.
Yes, Peter, it's a second for St Mirren. It's a second for Stevie Mallon. It's just a free kick from about 25 yards, right hand side of the pitch. Lewis Morgan shapes to take with his left foot, runs over the ball. Mallon comes in right footed, big deflection off the wall, but it goes beyond Pinks into the net. It's St Mirren 2, Raith Rovers 0.
Well, that will settle the nerves, Hugh.
To me, I said earlier, before the game started, I said if St Mirren score early, I could see them winning quite comfortably against Raith. I think this is when everything, apart from the quality gulf between the teams, I think this is when the result on Wednesday comes into play, where, psychologically damaged by a late winner, your legs are a bit heavy, you're 2-0 down. It can all get away from you at this time in a match. I think that's absolutely crucial goal for someone.
Yeah.
That's a goal I think keeps St Mirren up.
Yeah, it's his 10th goal of the season. Stevie Mallon will
He's
be
another
attracting attention, I think. Yeah. We've got everybody moving in the summer window.
I mean, if you look at what St Mirren have done and look at their midfield, I think McGinn and Mallon are obviously they're of a level that's not Championship level, I don't think. The other guy as well, Leicester have scored at West Brom.
Finally a goal in England, finally.
The other guy as well, Stephen Dobie.
Yeah.
He's been on this show, we've talked to him. I mean, he's a player of extraordinary quality for a Championship. I mean, 25 goals for Queen of the South translates into quite a lot of goals for, say, Hibs.
Absolutely.
You know, if you were playing for Hibs, you would expect more. And I just wonder if there's a. I mean, I think everyone's not about Rangers, but I think Premiership clubs will be looking for people who are in short contracts, who are out of contract. We spoke about this before, who offer good value.
Jamie Vardy getting his 17th goal of the season, Ruffy, in a season that many would consider has been poor for him.
Yeah, I would think 2/3 of the season, we never even heard his name mentioned. Even in any of the games that he played in, it just wasn't there to be seen. And for whatever reason, obviously strikers always go through a barren spell, but it has seemed, with the quality of striker that he is, you would have thought he would have sorted that out. But like all good strikers, once you hit the back of the net, the confidence comes back and they start rolling in. And in the last couple of months, he's been fantastic.
And that hugely unpopular decision to bin Ranieri has just come up trumps.
Well, absolutely. I think they've got away with it big time, haven't they? Because of the turnaround there's been. I mean, I know they get knocked out of the Champions League and all that, but the thing is, in terms of what's happened in the league, they've been a lot better form, good form. So the directors have actually probably been able to turn around and say, we've justified the decision we've made, haven't they?
And it looks as if I think Shakespeare's been told that he's getting the pre-season. So if you're telling somebody he's getting the pre-season, I think you're telling somebody he's got the season.
Got a job, yeah.
There was a tremendous amount of love for Leicester City and what they achieved last season. It's gone for me. Might as well tell you right now. You can fall in love and you can fall out of love, Ruffy. That's all I'm saying to you.
We can never have told that with you. Every time Leicester's mentioned, you can see your head getting down. Not happy. I'm not happy.
I'm not happy.
It's funny. It's a widespread feeling that. My son, for example, who's not the most emotional, sentimental of people, he said, "Oh, that's a game burst." He was really, he's really angry at the Ranieri sacking. I was a wee bit more pragmatic about it because I honestly think they were going down.
Aye.
You think so?
I think they were.
Yeah. Here's Brian Mahoney who says, talking about St Mirren, when did Dumbarton, as the only part-time team in the league, when are they going to get recognition for consistency in staying in the league for the last 6 years? I mean, that's the point. I mean, we always like to highlight teams. If you if you want to message us on Facebook or indeed Twitter and give us your thoughts on your team. Part-time, Stevie Aitken come in. He's done a great job, Gordon.
I think we have given them a bit of credit, actually, because even we said, of all last week we were giving them praise because their result was the top result of the teams down the bottom of the league. It was a great away win they had. So I think that, we have given them, they've got a tough game today, going up to Dundee United, who are they'll be looking to win, obviously, but if Dumbarton win today as well, if they could get another result today or even next week or whatever, I think they could be safe. And I think, as I said, I think they've done a great job. Ian Durant's in there now, I think, as assistant as well, so he's gone there. But they do tend to put some great results together.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Stevie Aitken is a genuine. I think that division is a well managed division. Yeah. There's been a lot of good managerial decisions made in there.
Big goal.
There's a goal.
Dundee.
Well, that is huge, by the way, Ruffy. Motherwell 0, Dundee 1. Neil McCann will be jumping about for joy after that. An opening goal in the game. It's so tight there.
Yeah, and particularly just before half-time. It's a really important game, obviously. I did think that Motherwell would win that one. Obviously, a long way to go, but the Dundee, even at half-time whistle goes, the Dundee dressing room will be absolutely jumping.
I thought it would be hard to predict, Ruffy, just because we didn't know what the Neil McCann factor would be, because that's a crucial element. Is how can a manager turn things about? They're on a bad run, so it can only be more positive. And if he can start off by today and get a result down in this match and turn things around, then you got to say that he can take Dundee out of that position.
It's a big one for Motherwell if they
to lose today.
Win that today.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing
That's memories of a couple of years ago when they were in the playoffs, you know, and I mean that will be filtering through obviously to the supporters as well.
And you know as well when Neil McCann came out of retirement as a player to save Dundee from relegation.
Okay, let's go to St Mirren. Des McKeown.
Half time at the Paisley 2021 Stadium, and it is St Mirren 2, Raith Rovers 0. Both goals from Stevie Mallon after a first 35 minutes where nothing very much happened. First 25 minutes where nothing very much happened. However, the ball broke down the right hand side. Cammy Smith was onto it. He drilled the ball across the face of the goals. The on-rushing Stevie Mallon in under Penxa to make it 1-0 to St Mirren. Just before half time, 5 minutes before half time, Stephen McGinn was felled just in front of the box here, 22 yards out. Stevie Mallon, Lewis Morgan both shaped for the free kick. Morgan ran over it. Mallon then turned on the right foot, drilled it towards the net. It took a deflection off the top of the wall, wrong-footed Penxa in the goal, and it ended up behind him in the net. Just before half-time as well, Kyle McGuinness and Cammy Smith have just shaved outside the post with long-range efforts. But at this stage, St Mirren in driving seat. It's St Mirren 2, Raith Rovers 0.
Yep, they are indeed in the driving seat. Will there be a fight back in the second half for Raith Rovers? We'll have to find out from Des McKeown throughout the afternoon. We'll be going to Fir Park shortly to get the thoughts of Kevin Harper on that. Late goal towards the end of the first half for Dundee. They're leading by a goal to nil. Elsewhere, Kilmarnock in Easy Street at the moment. They're 2-0 up against Hamilton at New Douglas Park. So massive there for Lee McCulloch's side. But in the other matches at the top end of the table, there's no goals. Aberdeen against St Johnstone and Hearts against Partick. We were crying out for one, but we just can't get one.
Yeah, crying out for one at Aberdeen. I'm not too sure about Tynecastle, but I think Partick Thistle have, got their defence organised. They're not getting turned over by most of the teams now. They're pretty solid. Again, their problem is not scoring enough goals, but I think they'll be pleased if they come away from Tynecastle with a point.
Okay, just in case you've come from another planet, Ruffy just can't help himself when he's talking about Hearts having played for Hibs and being entered into their Hall of Fame. But I'll have a word with him about impartiality when we get to the break. I'm not sure it's going to work. As far as the Championship is concerned, we've heard from Des McKeown there, 2-0 for St Mirren, looking good there. But it's not looking good for Ayr United. They're 2-0 down to Hibernian. And we did mention there's 22nd goal of the season. Jason Cummings has put them 2-0 ahead, and Neil Lennon's side certainly in a comfortable position there. It's all about adding as many points as they can before the end of the season. The half-time scores are on the way. And Ruffy's Saturday football show. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Hugh McDonald are with me here in the studio. Let's go to Fir Park and the drama just unfolding there at the tail end. Kevin Harper.
It's Motherwell 0, Dundee 1. And the story of the first half is Motherwell have dominated without creating any chances. For the neutral, it's probably been a dour game, but for me, interested in tactics, it's been a total masterclass from Dundee. They've played a 4-1, 4-1, and they've been really, really positive, defensively, Peter. But other than that, they get a break with the goal. A minute before half-time, a cross comes in from Holt from the left-hand side. Marcus Tabor goes up, flicks on it, hits a Motherwell player. Bain comes out to collect it, miscollects it, and it falls out of O'Hara, and he strikes it into the back of the net from about 6 yards. But other than that, up until the 30th minute, it was all midfield. That was when Motherwell's first chance came. It was a cross from the left-hand side into Molt's chest, 12 yards out, he swivels, but hits it straight at Bain. Other than that, it's been total Motherwell dominance, but Dundee have defended, kept their shape really, really well.
Okay,
Here at Fir Park, it's Motherwell 0, Dundee 1.
It's a crucial goal. They all count, even if it's against the run of play. Possession doesn't always count for everything in games. So Kevin Harper bringing us the news there of one of the Premiership games. Here's an update on the rest. So Ross County 4-0 winners against Inverness last night. The early kick-off today, it was Rangers 1, Celtic 5. Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0. Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2. Hearts 0, Partick Thistle 0. Motherwell 0, Dundee 1. In the Championship in Scotland, Ayr United 0, Hibernian 2, Dunfermline 1, Morton 1, Falkirk 1, Queen of the South 1, St Mirren 2, Raith Rovers 0. Dundee United against Dumbarton is a 5:15 kick-off. Into League 1, Alloa 0, Stranraer 0, Brecon City 0, Albion Rovers 0, East Fife 0, Airdrieonians 1, Livingston 3, Peterhead 0, Queen's Park 0, Stenhousemuir 1. Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 4, Montrose 0, Arbroath 1, Elgin City 0, Clyde 1, Berwick Rangers 0, Cowdenbeath 0, Forfar 0, and Edinburgh City 0, Stirling Albion 0. Into the Premier League in England, Southampton 0, Hull 0, Stoke City 0, West Ham 0, Sunderland 0, Bournemouth 0, and West Brom 0, Leicester City 1. Crystal Palace against Burnley is the 5:30 kick-off. We will bring you the scores from the lower leagues in England after this quick break. Coming up after the break, more discussion on that dramatic day at Ibrox when Celtic hammered Rangers by 5-1. Brendan Rodgers said it could have been more. Pedro Caixinha has said after the match that he takes full responsibility for the result, but he will discuss things, including the referee, possibly at a later date. We're going to hear from Brendan Rodgers and Pedro Caixinha on this show. So join us after the quick break and we'll digest the half-time scores. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show, and here we've been bringing you the half-time scores across the country, especially in the Premiership in Scotland. We've been keeping a close eye on what's been happening top and bottom half of the table. Lots of reaction coming in to the game today at Ibrox. It finished Rangers 1, Celtic 5, and Tommy has mentioned on our Twitter, at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, if you want to give us your thoughts on the game, says several candidates, Boyata and Shumanovic at the back were dominant. Kieran Tierney's energy and enthusiasm was peerless. Roberts was class, but Scott Brown was the main man. Listen, you could pick anyone, I suppose, Hugh, going across that entire team.
I'm going to go for a defender, strangely, in a team that wins 5-1, but I think it sums up the Celtic mentality that Tierney was, for me, the best player on the park today. I think he has improved immensely. He was emblematic in the match that Rangers, for some reason, tactically, personnel, didn't look at Celtic's strongest element of their play, that is going down the left-hand side through Tierney and Sinclair, and I thought he was superb today.
Yeah, let me bring you the scores in the Championship in England now from half-time. It's Barnsley 1, Burton Albion 0, Birmingham City 1, Huddersfield Town 0, Blackburn Rovers 0, Aston Villa 0, Derby County 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Fulham 1, Brentford 1, Ipswich Town 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Leeds United 1, Norwich City 3, Preston North End 1, Rotherham United 1, Queen's Park Rangers 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Reading 1, Wigan 0. Brighton against Bristol is the 5:30 kick-off. And of course we go straight to League 2 because the League 1 matches are taking place on the Sunday. Accrington Stanley 1, Luton Town 1, Barnet 2, Grimsby Town 0, Cambridge United 1, Crawley Town 0, Carlisle United 0, Newport County 1, Cheltenham Town 1, Hartlepool United 0, Doncaster Rovers 1, Exeter City 1, Leyton Orient 0, Colchester United 1, Mansfield Town 0, Portsmouth 0, Morecambe 0, Wycombe Wanderers 0, Notts County 1, Blackpool 0, Plymouth Argyle 0, Crewe Alexandra 1, Yeovil Town 1, Stevenage 0. So, there you have it. Ruffy.
Another goal.
Swimnall, right? Des McKeown won the
Well, let's go to Des and see what's happening there. Another goal at St Mirren. And we will come back to Des in just a minute, hopefully with a bit of luck. Yeah, I think we can go to him now. I can hear pipes in the background.
He was playing the pipes.
Yeah, Des.
Pipes in the background, celebrations in the background, Peter. That tells you it's St Mirren 3, Raith Rovers 0. It's a corner deep to the back post. Gary McKenzie downward header. I think it's Rory Loy that's then knocked it in behind Penksa in the Raith Rovers goal. I'll get that confirmed for you in a couple of seconds. But at this stage, it's St Mirren 3, Raith Rovers 0. 48 minutes gone.
Magnificent stuff there from Des, keeping his composure. Just managed to stuff the bagpipes down at the side there so nobody was able to see them, Ruffy, and got away with it. He's a consummate professional for us there.
Yeah, we never even caught him having his prawn sandwich. Does he usually does it?
It was quite interesting though, to see a number of people in the background there coming out from hospitality.
Yeah, and that's the goal.
We've all missed that goal.
It's a bugbear of mine, Gordon, and also fans who leave a game early. Although I would quantify that by suggesting to you, Hugh, with 20 minutes to go in the Old Firm game today, there were a number of Rangers fans that quite simply had seen enough. Now, you raised an interesting point, which I think is going to be crucial in the remaining 4 games for Rangers. There's a lot of Rangers fans out there are looking and thinking there better be a positive message delivered or signs on the park of some kind of change in fortunes that will actually influence me to hand over my hard cash for the season ticket.
The crucial thing since the demise of Rangers and administration and liquidation in 2012, the crucial one constant amidst all the turbulence and all the almost soap opera storylines was that the fans stayed loyal. constantly bought into everything. Dundee, a huge goal, Peter. Dundee have gone 2-0 up. Still to get that confirmed, but that is an immense goal at Dens Park. Fir Park. But before, I mean, that is the crucial thing now. Will they be disillusioned? Is this a result too far? Or are they willing to give the board, the manager and the players another chance? I don't know.
You're absolutely right, Hugh. They need to come up with some sort of message from a higher level. It's not just, it's a case of the fans need to be told there's going to be backing, there's going to be money spent. If Caixinha stays in place, which he seems he will, because I think he's got a 3-year contract, so I don't see him getting moved before the end of the season. But the thing about it is they need to show exactly what kind of backing they're going to give him.
There's got to be a strategy. They've got to sit down and say, this is where we are, you know, and there's lots of talk about we should be signing this one, we should be signing that one. This is what we're in, this is a market we're in, we're going to try and you know, I mean, at the beginning of the season there was the hashtag going for 55. There was Dave King saying we want to be at least second, but a very strong second. That's not happened, and they have to have a debrief and see why it's not happened, and they have to have a brief as why they can and how they can go forward.
I think this is a turning point now, whereas football's gone now, you know, and when you stop talking about the football, it goes back to the board level and what's happening, and the questions start being asked. Because if you're doing reasonably well in the park, nobody bothers about what's happening behind the scenes. But now that result today is going to open the can of worms, and everybody's going to know, just as you're saying there, what is the future. And I think a lot of pressure will be put on King. I think a lot of pressure. I think people are already saying, look, we're a massive club, you can't run us for South Africa. I don't care what you say, we want somebody here. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pressure on him to step down or find somebody else, because I don't think he's won the support of the supporters. I think when he officially took over he had a wee bit of support, but I think now that's diminished. I think he needs somebody else.
Yeah, can I tell you right now,
goals are pouring in.
I was just about to say to you, Motherwell 1, Dundee 2, Louis Moult's got one back. It was because Marcus Haber had scored his 7th goal of the season for Dundee. They were 2-0 up. Motherwell getting one back just moments ago. Peter Weatherson has scored to make it Annan 5, Montrose 0. That is an absolute scalping at the moment. It looks as if Chris Doolan has added to his collection this year. It's Hearts 0, Partick Thistle 1. What about that goal, Ruffy?
Yeah, Doolan again. A fantastic season he's had in the running for the Player of the Year. I said at the beginning, if Partick come away with at least a point there, it'd be positive. But I think now, I know Gordon's saying, sometimes you get to where you are and you drop your level, but I think Alan Archibald and Boy Parson have got them motivated enough to get points, and I know I
think it happened for the Rangers game, the first game after it. Yes,
and there was a break as well. So, but now I think obviously that there's targets to be met, and
the pressure,
expectations.
The pressure will come back on Cathro today, won't it? If Partick win this game, but also Dunfermline have gone in front. Peter, they've gone 2-1 up against Morton. Scored early in the first half, and that's them scored now. Moffat scored to put them 2-1 up, so a few goals just poured in there, and especially the two at Motherwell were very interesting. The Dundee seemed to have a comfortable lead, and then Motherwell get themselves right back in. Louis Moult, a player also who might be an attractive player for like the Rangers as well, if you think about it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Chris Doolan's 14th goal of the season. It's just been incredible for him. He's already gone beyond the 100 club for Partick Thistle. There's big changes being made at New St Mirren Park. Let's go back to Des McKeown to see what's been happening after St Mirren's third went in.
Yeah, well, John Yogi Hughes, who's not been happy at all, Peter, throughout the course of the game. He's been remonstrating to his players at the side of the technical area, right from the off, just as St Mirren on the counter-attack at the moment. But he's rung all the changes, 53 minutes gone, he's not waiting any longer. 3 on, 3 off. Ryan Hardy, Mark Stewart and Jonathan Courts have been introduced to the action. Off come Bobby Barr, Chris Johnston and Rudy Scatchell. And it's now stick or bust for... Twister bus, for John Yogi Hughes. He's made his changes. Whether his players can get anything out of this game or not remains to be seen. Still 3-0 St Mirren.
Yeah, I understand, Des, it was a slip of the tongue, but I think you might have got it right. Stick and burst, to be honest with you, Hugh McDonald.
Yeah, that's last chance saloon, isn't it? I mean, you know, once they're putting on 3 substitutes at one time, you always think you know, it is literally the last throw of the dice, because if somebody gets injured, you're down to 10 men. So you're
trying to pull back a 3-goal deficit is difficult.
It's just
interesting one, Peter, that in Division in League One, Stenhousemuir have gone 2-0 up against Queen's Park. Now, with Peterhead are getting a bit of a hammer at the moment, that means Stenhousemuir would actually jump above Peterhead. Peterhead would then be the bottom of the league team if that stays the same. So, as I say, we were talking earlier on about how Peterhead have been slipping and down, and that's now an opportunity for Stenhousemuir today to get above them.
Yeah, Ruffy, I'm just looking at the table here. Partick Thistle, if they could hold on to that lead, would close the gap on Hearts.
Yeah,
Alan Archibald would be at a point where he's saying to himself and his players, listen, there's 12 points up for grabs here. You know, we can go even further. And in the flip side of that, we're in a situation where everything is positive around Hearts. The stadium plans and even the look of the new main stand looks fantastic. It'll be called Tynecastle Park once more. The board have done so well, positive messages out. But the manager right now, I think, is in the most difficult period.
Yeah, and he doesn't, any time we see him doing interviews and that, he doesn't install any enthusiasm, does he?
No.
He doesn't, he's not, you know, positive enough for me. I don't know what he's saying in the dressing room, but certainly results aren't going their way. And I know they haven't had a great season, but I think the least they would expect would be playing in Europe next year. You know, that would be, you know, what they would expect. And obviously if the result says it's same, at the beginning of the show we were talking about them trying to catch St Johnstone. But now that's turned round a wee bit, and obviously I don't know when Partick Thistle play St Johnstone, but if they were to win today and then a St Johnstone game coming up quickly, and if they win that one, and then beat Rangers and then beat Celtic and then Aberdeen, they might get it.
The thing about it,
we're going to do Champions League qualifiers. Champions League qualifiers to worry about.
Hearts have had 5 defeats in the last 8 games, I think, so they're not in a good run. And as I say, imagine when he took over, they were second top. I know it was tight; they'd only just got there. Good result against Rangers, but if he had to finish now in 6th, say for example, I think there'd be a lot of criticism coming his way.
Well, I'm going to say something to you. Having lived in Edinburgh, and no disrespect to your side, Ruffy, but I'm sorry, Hearts fans won't tolerate Partick Thistle coming to Tynecastle and winning. That's just not on for them.
Not in the light of the stats that Gordon's just told us there. I mean, there was 16,000 going to the games early on. I don't know what's that now, but that's what they're relying, and Hughes touched on it. There's a lot of supporters paying into the club. You know, paying their standing orders, you know, for the new stand. They had a wee sort of a hiccup, Peter, that you're saying everything's been positive, but they counteracted that by releasing the Tynecastle. They said that the supporters are moving out that stand. I don't know if you read that.
Well,
and there was a lot of supporters not happy about that, but then they quite rightly came out with the Tynecastle one to sort of quell that wee disturb. Supporters don't like getting moved out the stand for any big games.
Well,
I know why they're doing it financially, but they quelled it a wee bit and quite quickly by doing the Tynecastle story.
Ruffy, you're being slightly harsh in this situation. I have to correct you there, because at the end of the day, quite simply, the Roseburn...
Dundee have gone 3-1 up.
3-1 up now. O'Hara has scored. I think this could be a huge result for Neil McCann today. That's a big blow for Stephen Robinson as the Motherwell manager there. And again, made changes, my opinion. Thought they sacked Mark McGee too quickly, and for all the wrong reasons, may I add. But you know, now they're going to have to really battle to get away from that playoff spot. Just to correct you on that, Ruffy, quite simply, it's a 20,000-seater stadium. What Hearts did say is, if there is a huge demand for season tickets, then we will go back to looking at the Roseburn stand being sectioned for Hearts fans. But we'll hold off and basically say, if Rangers and Celtic fans and fans like Hibernian are bringing huge support, you want 20,000 inside the stadium. So I think we're being... I think
bit of action.
I get that.
I'll come back to that now. No, there was a time when Hearts were saying Rangers and Celtic aren't getting tickets. We're supplying our supporters.
Well, hold on a second. Let's go to St Mirren, because I think the game's done and dusted. Des.
Peter, I tell you, the game's done and dusted. Stevie Mallon has just scored what I can only describe as one of the best goals I've ever seen. He has played an unbelievable 1-2 in the middle of the park. He has then curled a shot from about 30 yards, dipping right into the top corner, I promise you, right down my eye line. It is unbelievable. He's just secured the hat-trick. He's just secured 4-0 for St Mirren. He may have just secured St Mirren's status in the Championship. 4-0 St Mirren.
I don't know about you, but I thought Des was about to spontaneously combust
there.
Now I can't wait to see that goal. He's got us so excited about it.
But that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That enthusiasm that you have when you see great goals, you get up off the seat. That's why we always say to people, go to a match. See the match. If you can't make it, we're here to help you through the afternoon. But live football is what it's all about. I'm actually on a roll today. I said St Mirren would win quite easily. They have. I said Dundee would win, and they have. And I kind of fancied Thistle to get something away with it. I should be on the treble duties. That's what I'm saying.
The last thing you need to I'm so glad you can laugh about it now, but the last thing you need is to start getting involved in our gambling responsibly on a small bet, which for this week is so pertinent it defies belief. Director of football, here's one that's just been quickly put into us by Robert, who says, what happened to the director of football that Dave King was going to bring in? That just seems to have been completely forgotten about. That's just on the back burner.
Yeah, I always said for the start that it is an important appointment, but I thought the most important was the new manager or the coach coming in, particularly if he's going to be foreign. I think these two, Gordon probably tell me better than others, you have to work in harmony, don't you? You have to be singing for the same song sheet, and I don't know, for different nationalities.
See, he might have an input in it, Peter. That might be the whole thing about it. They might have been deciding, saying, well, he wants to bring in somebody, or a director of football comes in, somebody he can harmonise, because he was the one that chose Jonathan Johansson to be the third.
See, I think there's a huge danger of the manager picking the director of football. I think the director of football picks the manager. And see, if you've got a director of football, you've got to be saying to yourself, and it's an anathema to the years of people, mired in decades of football. But the director of football is the man. That's a crucial position, because managers will come and go. Because I'll tell you what, if a manager's good, he's going to go. If a manager's rotten, you're going to sack him. You've got to have the director of football there for some stability that brings in managers and says, this is your budget, this is the players that we're looking at the moment, this is the contracts, this is the way we play here from under 17 on.
Absolutely. It's a medium to long term strategy for the director of football who comes in, Hugh, because what he does is saying, OK, the managers, as you say, come and go, different things happen, players come and go, but that person coordinates all the different departments, makes sure the club's run in terms of the policy of the club, in terms of the targets and what they want, the motivations, and that's what he's there to do. So this must all be on hold just now because of the new managerial situation. It's got to be down to that.
Yeah, that's such a huge goal at Fir Park. Motherwell 1, Dundee 3. Mark O'Hara's deflected shot, Ruffy. They don't care how they go in. The Dundee fans are celebrating it, and suddenly that little lift, that kickstart, that maybe individual management skill that Neil McCann has been talking about this week is paying off.
It has been a major problem for Motherwell this year defensively. Obviously Stephen McManus has been out for a wee while. They are losing goals quite easily, bad goals, and obviously the two of them were own goals, or not deflected goals today. So it's a sore one for them, but guys talked about it, a new manager coming in, new ideas, again players lift their form for whatever reason. I know he made 3 changes, which might have made a difference as well. The boy O'Hara is a right good player. He'd been out for a wee while. But it's a massive result. It's absolutely massive, and it puts Motherwell in a terrible, terrible situation.
Yep, Jamie Walker's had a great chance for Hearts, but it's been cleared away. He was just dithering on the ball, and Niall Keown was able to get in there and get it away. Suddenly, as you start to look at the clock, the pressure intensifies. Tynecastle can be a fantastic place when it's going right. It can be a place where you don't really want to be when the fans are angry.
This is always the point of big stadiums, especially stadiums. The park is very near the pitch, and you can hear what people are saying to you and shouting and bawling at you, and they will not be happy bunnies at the moment, because going anywhere near 6th place in the division is not what Hearts envisaged at the beginning of the season, or any of their supporters. And you're bang on right. It's not being disrespectful, it's being realistic. Hearts fans do not expect to be getting beat 1-0 at home by Partick Thistle.
Yep, lots of Celtic fans mentioning the positives today. You can too on at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy on the game today at Ibrox. It was Rangers 1, Celtic 5. If you're a Rangers fan, what particularly displeased you over the 90 minutes? Were there any pass marks of any player on that side? What do you make of Pedro Caixinha's tactics in the game? What do you make of the overall performance of the team? A team that wasn't able to really lay a glove on Brendan Rodgers' side. It's the first time that Celtic have handed Rangers a 5-1 defeat at Ibrox. It's the biggest one. The last time they won by 4 clear goals was 1898. 5 wins out of 6 games. Give us your reaction to that. We'll hear from Brendan Rodgers and Pedro Caixinha before the end of this programme. But as ever, goals coming in. Gordon Smith.
Yeah, Hibs have gone 3-0 up, so that's more or less all over for Ayr United today. It was a tough game for them anyway. You know, they've done pretty well. They got beaten, fun enough. The last time they played, Hibs got beat at home. They got beat 3-0 as well. But they did win, I think, this season at Easter Road, didn't they?
Yep.
But that's 3-0 today. So that's them. They're going to remain in bottom spot. St Mirren are going to go enough points away from them that they cannot catch St Mirren. So St Mirren definitely cannot now be relegated. That's for sure. And the big game next week, obviously, Ayr are going to have to. Keatings has scored for Hibs, but Ayr are going to have to play against Raith next weekend. While St Mirren obviously have got Hibs, so it'll be down to whether Raith can get the win against Ayr and catch St Mirren if St Mirren don't beat Hibs, or whether St Mirren can go to Hibs and get something. But if Raiths, for example, and Ayr United were to draw next week, then that's them in the bottom 2 positions, and St Mirren are totally clear.
Yep.
There you are. Gordon's just cleared it completely up for us now. So if you're a United fan, just go home. Don't bother watching the rest of the match.
No,
it's been all cleared for them. It's a big defeat today for Ayr United. Ian McCall has got it all to do, but I think particular praise to Jack Ross and his side, Hugh.
Yeah, and what happened is I couldn't see. I watched St Mirren just before Christmas, and I just couldn't see a way out of them. I just thought they were playing so poorly. I think they were about 7 points behind. There was a gulf.
10
anyway.
at one. I think it was 10 at one point.
I think it did go up to 10. Yeah, there was a big gulf, and I didn't see any signs of it. But they played the transfer window really cutely. They really did well in the transfer window, and they accepted real criticism. They got a young lad, Kyle McAllister, went away to Derby County. Yeah. Huge anger about that. The manager, remember, it's only in January the manager's walking in after a home defeat to Queen of South into the crowd to speak to the crowd. And 3 short months later, he's sitting there, and they've went on a real smashing run of results. At one point, I'll be interested talking to Des, because he's seen a lot of someone this year, you know, on the quality of Malin and McGinn. I'd be really interested if he, you know, what he thinks about them. You know, whether they can be looked at as going up a division as well, because McGinn's a hugely experienced player, and Malin's done brilliantly this season.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a big day for St Mirren there, and they are coasting against Raith Rovers. I just cannot wait to see the Stevie Malin goal. I'm going to speak to Des about it now, because it'll be calm, maybe quieter than normal. Des, I'm just going to get your thoughts on that goal now that it's settled down a bit there. You said it's one of the greatest goals you've ever seen, and you've seen a few in your time. Stevie Malin, he scored one of the goals of the season up at Dens Park for St Mirren as well. Was it better than that one?
For me it was, Peter. Yes, I have to say it was all about the build up to it as well. He took a lovely pass, played a 1-2 with Rory Loy, and then honestly he's just caught it perfectly. And possibly it's because of where we're sitting in the main stand. We're looking right down the line of the shot. It started way outside the post, much higher than the bar, and it dipped and curled perfectly, and you couldn't have placed it better into the top corner. Stevie Malin has done things like that, all too often for it to be just a fluke. It was absolutely precision at its very best. And Stevie Mallon today, 3 goals, but he's been at the heart of everything. He's been playing beautiful little reverse passes. He's been playing passes through the eye of the needle to try and set up Lewis Morgan in the wide area, Kyle McGuinness in the wide area, and Rory Loy in and around the central area of the strike force. Just as St Mirren, honestly, Peter, this could be anything. St Mirren are just wave after wave of attack. I will be fascinated to hear what John Hughes has to say after the game, if we can actually bleep out some of the words that he's going to use, because St Mirren have dominated this start to finish. I have 2 notes for Raith Rovers throughout the course of the 70 minutes so far. 35 minutes Declan McManus booked, and 51 minutes Rudy Scatchell booked. Nothing else.
Yeah, I've got to ask you, Des, we were talking about players. Hugh's been mentioning the quality that St Mirren have on their side. Mallon, Stephen McGinn, and of course you're looking there and you're saying to yourself, will bigger clubs look at them and try and snatch them in the summer?
There's no doubt there are clubs watching Stevie Mallon. Stevie Mallon was literally a couple of £1,000 away, I think, from the clubs settling on a fee. I think it was Barnsley in the last hours of the transfer window. I played with Stevie's father. I'm pretty close to the family, and I know that Stevie was, would be safe to say, disillusioned. First half of the season, he's been revitalised, and I am going to say that the glue in the St Mirren story this season is not just in the manager, but it's in their captain. Stephen McGinn has been absolutely magnificent. He has brought this side together. He's given them a bit of heart, a bit of soul, a bit of structure in the middle of the pitch, and incredible leadership. He is non-stop, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Stephen McGinn will be in the radar of a number of our Premiership sides. I just wonder whether or not he looks as if he's enjoying himself. I think he might feel there's a bigger part to play here at the 2021 stadium. Can he, you know, in the kind of later stages of his career, help take St Mirren back up to the top division? I don't know. It may be a question of finance, it may be a question of ambition, something that the player himself, Stephen McGinn, doesn't lack. So Jack Ross, as long as St Mirren can stay in the Championship, I think they've got a fighting chance of keeping Stephen McGinn. I'm not quite so sure about Stephen Mallon. I think Stephen Mallon probably now needs the move, because he has been here for 2 or 3 years as a young up-and-coming player. I think it would probably serve him in his best interests to move on in the summer.
Hearts have got an equaliser at Tynecastle, and Thistle are down to 10 men. Isma Goncalves has scored the goal for the Jam Tarts, and now suddenly, the stroke of that, Ruffy, it can change.
Yeah, it certainly can. It'll be interesting to see where the Partick Thistle player was sent off. We thought it maybe been a penalty, but yeah, they'll have to see out the last 15 odd minutes of the game and try and get that point that I'm sure they'll be happy with. But you would like to think that Hearts will now be trying to get the winner, and Thomas Cherney will have to earn his corn again, as he has done all season.
There was a penalty, and Ruffy says it was never a penalty. You know, Ruffy's just come in with never a penalty, but it's a penalty and obviously sending off. Goals everywhere. Hibs 4-0 up, cruising. Big goal for Falkirk, 2-1 up, sealing a good end to the season for them.
Cummings hat-trick as well.
Cummings has scored again for Hibs, and also the penalty for Falkirk. They're 2-1 up on Queen of the South now, and it was Nathan Austin taken down, and then it's a goal for the Bairns there. They're now 2-1 up on Queen of the South.
It's come through. It's saying that Partick have scored to go 2-1 up.
Well,
10-man Partick.
Look at Ruffy. Look at him. What's happened? Are you okay?
What's that defibrillator?
You're jumping up and down.
In my seat just as that goal went in.
Do you want an old wooden rattle to pull around there with your
I was only adjusting my seat just as it went in.
Just when we thought Hearts are going to be going for the win now, they equalise against 10-man Partick Thistle. Partick go 2-1 up.
Yeah,
that's a bit of a shock.
Exactly. I can tell you, Aaron Muirhead got that goal for Falkirk to go 2-1 up on Queen of the South from the penalty spot. I mean, that is the point I'm talking about. Not only is it not acceptable for Hearts fans to lose to Partick Thistle under any circumstances, but to lose to 10 men is just not on.
No, that's what I'm saying. There'll be a reaction to that, especially, as I say, you know, you're thinking to yourself, well, that's Hearts that turns the game around when you go like back in the game at 1 each and the opposition get a man sent off, but as quickly as that, I mean, it must have been within a minute or two that...
Hearing it's lawless as well, Peter.
Yeah, it's just actually, and the problem here is Hearts have tried to play a high line. He's managed to spring the offside trap, and Stephen Lawless, as you know, Ruff, he's got a sweet left foot on him. He's just steered the ball into the back of the net, 2-1, and this is what, a couple of minutes after they've scored?
Yeah, it's criminal, you know, when you're in a game, you know, to score a goal and get yourself back in the game and then lose it so quickly after it. Just lack of organisation, lack of leadership, lack of somebody organising the team.
It looks as if you're condoning crime here, though. You're saying it's criminal and you've got a smile that'll have to be surgically removed.
That's a very good point, Hugh. It's a very good point, but I'll tell you, there will be some unhappy Hearts fans giving us their thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, Hugh.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like the final twist of the set. It's bad enough for Hearts fans to be losing 1-0 to Partick Thistle, but then to get back into the game, have a Thistle player sent off. It always says, well, they settle back down well, it's all going to be all right now. It's not been a great Saturday, but everyone's going to... Then Stephen Lawless goes up the park, makes it 2-1. Whatever happens from now on here, even rescuing a draw from this today will not appease the Hearts fans. This is they really have to win this game, and they've got 15 minutes to do so, Peter.
Okay. Tony Finn has sent us a message on Facebook, and you can too. For your favourite team, if sometimes you think your team's not mentioned enough, well, get on Facebook. Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Get on Twitter at Peter and Ruffy. Give us your thoughts. Tony says, let's be honest, the quality was a different class. Pedro Caixinha knows that. The paper headline tomorrow will be reading Mayday, Mayday, and it'll all be for Rangers. The ref had a good game, made it a free-flowing game.
Yeah, I think the only big decision was the tackle that the guys were talking about.
Yeah,
initially it was a lunge from a distance, you know, but when you see it again, and all credit to the referee, he called it right, you know, he got the ball cleanly. You know, but if it had been a sending off, they'd just appealed it anyway.
The other one that
he whispers the end of the set. Doesn't want anybody to actually catch the
We're straying into controversial territory here.
Probably appealing and it'd be a yellow.
That's exactly.
I think Rangers were also annoyed at what they perceived to be a Scott Brown elbow on. It was a Scott Brown elbow on
Kenny Miller.
But I honestly don't think there was much in it. It wasn't like a swing in the elbow.
I think you'd be clutching at straws with that one, Hugh, wouldn't you?
But you are clutching at straws. I mean, every supporter's the same. It's not a trait that's restricted to Rangers fans. If you're in a game and everything's going against you and all that, you are clutching the straws. You're looking at something.
Usually you get in a Rangers Celtic game when somebody's winning by that margin. You usually get somebody 5 minutes to go, 10 minutes, losing the plot and doing something stupid. But it never happened today, thank heavens, and we can just talk about the game rather than the incidents.
I think he did put his arm into Kenny Miller's face. I think Kenny, though, was quite clever to react to it, just to try and see if he could get him into more trouble than he did. You know, I
thought he could have been booked for it, but it was never a red card. But I thought he could have been booked for it. But actually, it's all kind of irrelevant to the game, really, because the story of the game isn't the referee. I mean, I thought the referee, that was his first Old Firm match, by the way. I think John Beaton had a good game, but I mean, I think the real themes from what happened at Ibrox today is not about the referee. No. It's about a little bit about Caixinha and the way he.
It becomes more important, Hugh. It's much more important if it's been a draw or a tight result. Then you might consider a referee decision, whatever. But the gulf was so big today that it was insignificant in terms of the referee's performance, how he affected the game.
East Fife 0, Ironians 4. Ian Russell scores the goal for the Diamonds. I think also today there'll be a number of unhappy Hearts fans if it stays 2-1 to Partick Thistle. You can give us your thoughts on that as well. Elsewhere, Aberdeen St Johnstone. I mean, if you bought tickets for that one, Ruffy, you're not a happy man. I don't think we've actually discussed Aberdeen or St Johnstone in the second half of this programme.
Well, as the guys have said, St Johnstone are a very good team away from home. They're very well organised. They all fight for each other. You know, I said that obviously McLean not playing might have been a miss for them, but certainly they've dug in there. But Aberdeen are notorious for scoring in the last 10 minutes again. We don't know whether they're dominating and creating chances, but there's still 10 minutes to go.
Queen of the South have come back again to Falkirk. They've equalised 2 each. I was going to say, Peter, interesting in League One, there was, you're looking at the playoff scenario, there's 2 teams already, Livingston and Alloa are pretty clear. Then you had 4 teams on 46 points, and the only difference between them was the goal difference. So one of those teams sitting in 3rd place in goal difference, East Fife, is playing 5th place, Airdrie today. And Airdrie are winning so comfortably, they're 4-0 up. So Airdrie are going to be jumping now into that playoff spot. And it's unbelievable as well. Queen's part of the other team in 46 points, and they're losing to the bottom of the league, Stenhousemuir. So there's some strange results in these lower divisions without doubt.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Queen of the South have got a lot to thank Stephen Dobby for. He scored that goal, Ruffy, to draw them level. Yeah, he's been great this season.
Yeah, you can see why he's been nominated for the Player of the Year awards for that division. He's been tremendous, and him and I think Lyle's out just now, but the two of them have certainly been scoring goals for fun, and again, he's come up with the good.
Yeah, he's real quality, though. He's real quality.
I think he's another one that could step up a grade.
I mean, he's a bona fide championship player, English championship player. I mean, I know why he went back to St Mirren, to Queen of the South, because there's sentimental ties there, but I think he's a grade above that. I honestly do.
Okay, Kutski Milne says, just wondering how you don't mention Arbroath FC as their title.
Well, I could tell them that they're 3-1 up. They just scored to go 3-1 up against Elgin, who are down
10-man
Elgin. So, good shout. Arbroath powering towards promotion.
Well, they go top if they win today.
Forfar
stays a draw, Forfar's won each at the moment.
Isn't it amazing there, Gordon? As soon as he said they were down to 10 men, you went, 10 men, as if it was just unacceptable. The 10 men couldn't do anything, and then we witness what's happening in Hearts. Is there going to be an equaliser there, or will Alan Archibald's side suddenly close the gap on the Jambos?
Oh, big goal. St Johnstone at half scored. Aberdeen at home against St Johnstone, and St Johnstone, we talked about last week, Peter, they're better away from home than they are even at home, and Danny Swanson has scored to put them 1-0 up just when Motherwell score to put themselves back in the game with 10 minutes to go there too. It's now 3-2 for Dundee, but St Johnstone are leading up at Aberdeen.
Yep, I can tell you, we are going to hear from Pedro Caixinha, and we're also going to hear from Brendan Rodgers and one of the goal scorers for Celtic today, Lee Griffiths. That's coming up. Don't go away. Stay with us here on STV2 on the Saturday Football Show, because we will be able to see and hear Pedro Caixinha, Brendan Rodgers, Lee Griffiths after that 5-1 drubbing today for Rangers at Ibrox. A lot of Rangers fans not happy at what they watched today. It's a Motherwell 2, Dundee 3. And Chris Cadden has got a goal back for Motherwell, so it's nail-biting stuff. And if Neil McCann didn't know what it was like to feel the pressure of being a manager in his first game in charge, he sure knows it now, because in the last few minutes, Motherwell will undoubtedly start to throw everything at them, Ruffy, to try and get back on level terms.
Yeah, you would like to think so. Obviously, they got 4 goals last week, and it depends whether Dundee maybe trying to hold on and just see the game out. Might be Motherwell, creating chances, but it'll be an interesting one, because as we know, these two defences aren't particularly strong, so we might get another goal before the end of the game.
Yeah, we might. And Gordon, is there any chance you could phone the minibus, the Montrose fans, and say the fight back is on? They've got to go back.
Back.
5-1 now. I don't think they'll be too happy with it. Annan just running riot there. And I think it's 5-1. Hay has got one back as a consolation for them, but it won't matter now. It's a real day to forget.
I think it's the fans in the minibus that have actually been playing for them today, rather than the team, because a team that's well up in the league there and then getting hammered by Annan, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're down to 10 men as well, obviously, but you wouldn't have put any with any confidence predicted a result like that, would you?
Here's a strange one, Gordon. I was suggesting to you that I don't think second place is up for grabs. I think Aberdeen will get it.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at today and Rangers lost, it's still mathematically possible. But it's a slight hope.
Yeah, it's a 9-point lead, and it'll be now 9s with 4 games to go. But as I say, it was one of those ones. I mean, we saw it last year. Aberdeen lost. I think they either lost once or twice at home to St Johnstone.
Big crucial time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Hamilton.
Yeah, but St Johnstone's, we've said it, as I say, repeating again, they're comfortable away from home. They seem to do a lot better away from home than they do at home. And there you go. They've gone to Pittodrie when Aberdeen are on a bit of a high, getting through in the cup, like, you know, in a great position. And now they've gone 2-0 up. They've just scored again, so that game's over, I think.
Yeah, that's what I love about you, Gordon. See when it gets to about 87 minutes, you really lay your neck out there on the line. That's fantastic.
Game's over.
It's over, says Gordon Smith. So 2-0, and I can tell you the goal scorer for St Johnstone was Craig Thompson. So he's got the goal, 2-0, and I think again we never stop. If Tommy Wright a couple of years ago was unhappy about the praise that his side was getting, he's getting it in droves from all areas of the media.
Yeah, and as again to refer back, we did see that he seems to have Derek McInnes's number when it comes to tactics. St Johnstone do really well against Aberdeen, considering the difference in budgets, because the difference in budgets will be considerable. St Johnstone, there'll be St Johnstone players on the park today. In fact, most of them who will be getting paid less than the referee.
Yeah. Even this season, I mean, the last game that went up there was a 0-0, and seemingly the St Johnstone played really well. So 0-0, but they've turned it around today.
A big one, wasn't it?
No, 5-1 they won.
Yeah, 5-1. That was last season.
Last season, yeah.
That was last season.
Dunfermline of cruising away against Morton, 3-1 now, Peter. And Arbroath, that tweeter or caller has now will be slightly more nervous because 10-man Elgin have come back to make it 3-2.
I can tell you, Rhys McKee scored the goal for Dunfermline. Also, just looking at the Hearts game here, Jack Hamilton punches a Booth free kick clear. Partick deep inside Hearts half, pressing for a third. And I can tell you, just as we get to the end of the game at St Mirren, it looks as if this one could be one to remember. Des McKeown.
Yeah, it's certainly one to remember for the St Mirren fans, one to forget for the Raith Rovers fans, as Lewis Morgan has just made it 5-0 to St Mirren. 4 minutes to go. Rory Lloyd plays in Stevie Mallon then plays in Lewis Morgan. He drills it left-footed from 18 yards, bounces just in front of the goalkeeper, slips underneath him. 5-0 to Jack Ross's St Mirren.
What a fantastic result. Never any doubt. How's their treble looking?
Unfortunately, Queen of the South scored that goal against Falkirk, which is sort of just got us hanging on for the last 5 minutes. The other two teams have won quite comfortably, St Mirren and Livingston, so we're waiting on a Falkirk goal.
Yeah, and who picked Falkirk, Robbie?
I did.
Yeah,
I
thought he was waiting.
I thought you were waiting me. So, well, I'm happy to admit it.
I thought he was waiting on you for an alibi there. But nevertheless, I mean, listen, there are days when you've just got to put it behind you.
Officially, the treble was put on by a big boy who did it and ran away.
Yeah, exactly. There is a classic phrase from yesteryear. But Falkirk 2, Queen of the South 2. The drama has all been unfolding at St Mirren Park, where just Jack Ross's side convincing winners in that game. Hopefully we'll get a word with the St Mirren manager and maybe the odd key player there. Whether John Hughes is able to come out and offer his assessment of the match, only time will tell. So it's a big win for St Mirren. Ayr United, they've got it all to do now. They are staring at the trapdoor towards League One. Hibernian with that big win there at Somerset Park. It's getting ever closer to full time across the country, north and south of the border, usually on a Saturday afternoon. Ruffy, we are talking about all 4 divisions in Scotland, and we are referencing England, but it's been quiet today.
Yes, there's an equaliser at Tynecastle for Hearts, 2 each there against Partick Thistle. Late goal.
Yep, Struns has scored the goal. Struna getting the goal there for the Jambos, and that will be a relief more than anything else.
I don't even know if it'll go. I mean, I don't even think it might just be an element league, but if it goes to that and it ends, it's still a hugely disappointing result.
Yeah.
Peter, and there'll be jeers rather than cheers if it ends like that.
Well, Nicholson had the ball, just smashing it in. It's blocked on the line, and there's Struna just about an inch or two out, Ruffy, the best way to score a goal. Gets it over the line, gets the equaliser, and now they'll be thinking, oh, there's seconds left, let's see if we can get a dramatic winner.
Yeah, I'll be obviously defending, backs to the wall, you know, to see if you can see the game out. You're not going to try and win the game now, you know, down to 10 men. So I think the important thing is coming away with something, and that's what Partick Thistle will be trying to do.
It was interesting before that goal went in. I was just looking at the 5 games in the Premiership. This, and Sunderland have just lost a goal, so that's them. They lose. If they lose today, they're relegated. So that's, I think, they're fine. But I was just looking at the 5 games, Peter, in the Premiership today in Scotland, and it was 5 away. The away teams were all winning. Celtic already won in St Johnstone, Partick, Kilmarnock, and Dundee all leading. It just shows you that having a home game is not necessarily any great advantage.
For the first time, Hugh McDonald, I'd be amazed if David Moyes is at Sunderland after the summer. They're going down. The board said they would stand by him. I wonder, the fans are starting to revolt.
Well, yeah, but I think the good business move is to stand by. What Sunderland really need now is stability. They went through managers that we've all talked about as being more than competent managers. They've had Advocat there, they've had Martin O'Neill there, they've had Bruce there as well. They've got to sit down and say, this is a man we've got. Because the problem with Sunderland is not about managers, it's about players and playing squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Full time in Paisley at the 2021 Stadium, Des McKeown.
Full time here at the Paisley 2021 Stadium, and it's finished St Mirren 5, Raith Rovers 0. Jack Ross's players dominated from start to finish. They now go 2 points ahead of Raith Rovers into 8th position in the division, and possibly, even more importantly, a 10-goal swing between the two sides as well. It all came to fruition for St Mirren on 27 minutes when Stevie Mallon got onto a Cammy Smith cutback, drilled it low below the Penksa in the Raith Rovers goal. Just before half time, it was Mallon again, free kick deflection off the wall, in behind Penksa, 2-0 St Mirren at the break. Into the second half, 4 minutes in, Stevie Mallon corner, he's involved once again. Gary McKenzie header downwards towards the goal, Rory Loy bundled it into the net, and then the moment everyone in the crowd, apart from the Raith Rovers fans, will want to watch time and time again, it was on the hour mark. Stevie Mallon picks up the ball, plays a beautiful 1-2 with Rory Loy. From about 25 yards, he sets his shot off well outside the far post. It dips, it curls right into the top corner. 4-0. Just as we thought that's how it was going to finish, it ends up with Lewis Morgan released down the left-hand side. A sweet left foot strike low into the bottom corner. It finished here, St Mirren 5, Raith Rovers 0.
Man of the match for you, Des?
It might have been Stevie Mallon.
I had a sneaky feeling you might say that. I had a sneaky feeling.
I had that in the sweep.
Yeah, I had that. Yeah, I had that in the sweep as well. Yeah, and I've got to ask you, Des, are you still sticking by Stevie Mallon for late contender for goal of the season?
Oh, without a doubt. As I said in the commentary, Peter, one of the best goals I have ever personally witnessed. And I have to say, in a crowd of 4,937, there will be something like 4,700 St Mirren fans will be saying the very same thing.
Okay. So, there you have it. Drama there at St Mirren Park, but they've done it.
They've done well, but that's a great attendance as well. Just shows you what the capability of potential there is. An important late goal for Alloa, but 4,000, nearly 5,000 fans with I think estimating 200 travelling fans. Yeah. And that's a good, strong championship attendance.
Alloa have snatched a winner in League One, 1-0 against Stranraer right at the death in the Premiership in Scotland. The drama that's unfolded is incredible across all of the games today. Of course, it finished Rangers 1, Celtic 5 elsewhere today. Kilmarnock have managed a 2-0 win at New Douglas Park against Hamilton Accies. The Accies yet again are going to be in the mix. Dundee 3-2. They're leading at Fir Park at the moment. We are into injury time. All eyes on the referee. Will Neil McCann start his short reign at Dundee with a win? He could have a longer stint at Dundee if he can actually save them from relegation, and of course look to bring in his own players in the summer with a longer term deal. Whether he's able to continue his television work and commitments is another matter. Only time will tell on that. As far as the top end of the table, Pittodrie, well, just when you think Aberdeen are going to have a strong finish to the season, they are losing at the moment to St Johnstone by 2-0. And I don't imagine that they will indeed, I don't think they will be happy at losing to St Johnstone. Rangers can still mathematically catch them, as Gordon mentioned, but it's a long shot. Hearts 2, Partick Thistle 2. Partick Thistle down to 10 men, conceded a penalty. Ismagon Calvas converted, and right at the death there, Struna managed to get an equaliser for them. It's 2-2. We're into injury time there, and that one I think is about to finish in the next few seconds as well. So it's a point gained, I think, for Partick Thistle. They would probably have liked all three. They were in the lead in that match. As far as the Championship's concerned, St Mirren emphatic with their win over Raith Rovers. I don't think we'll have a happy John Hughes. He doesn't usually mince his words. Falkirk shared the spoils with Queen of the South, 2 goals each, and Ayr 0, Hibernian 4. Gordon Smith.
Ayr are relegated with that result today.
So they've gone. Ayr United now relegated, and it's now all about the playoff. Alan Rough, playoff place now is there for all to see, and it makes Dundee United against Dumbarton even more interesting tonight.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I think for us, we want the excitement in the last game of the season, and that's what we're going to get. For the players, it's not something you don't want, but for us, it's going to be great sitting here watching the game and how it pans out.
Well, how it will work out next week is St Mirren play Hibs. Obviously, Raith Rovers are playing against Ayr. Now, if Ayr win, the goal difference is so big, they get the same points, but there's a 12-goal. Ayr United would need to win about 12-0, so that's why I'm saying they're relegated today. Now, what happens is next week is that if St Mirren don't beat Hibs and Raith do, then St Mirren are the team in the playoffs. So it could still happen that they're in the playoffs, Peter, but depends. The scorelines next week are crucial. If St Mirren can get anything at all from the Hibs game and Raith don't beat Ayr, then St Mirren can be safe.
Yeah, and I think St Mirren would have taken the playoff spot around about Christmas. I think they would be very confident in the playoff spot now, because they're playing so well. Sunderland definitely relegated as well. Peter, we know that. We've talked about that. A great point for Hull, though. That was a managerial performance, sort of appointment that was criticised. And Neil McCann has won 3-2. Fir Park.
Dundee will hear from Kevin Harper at Fir Park on that dramatic game. 5 goals, Dundee edging it by 3-2. We'll also hear from Pedro Caixinha. We'll hear from Kenny Miller. We are going to hear from the Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers and one of the goal scorers, Lee Griffiths, here on STV2 on the Saturday Football Show. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show. Drama at the top and the bottom of the Premiership in Scotland at Ibrox. It all kicked off with Rangers hoping to respond to being knocked out of the Scottish Cup semi-final last week. It didn't happen. Celtic ran over the top of Pedro Caixinha's side and triumphed by 5-1 at the bottom end. All eyes were on Fir Park. Motherwell against Dundee. It finished with a Dundee win. Kevin Harper has the details.
Here, Peter, at Fir Park, it finished Motherwell 3, Dundee 2, and it was the first half was very quiet. Holt crossed for the first goal. Haber. What?
OK, we'll come back to Kevin on that. It was actually Motherwell 2, Dundee 3. That could go viral. We'll go back to Kevin in just a second with that one to get a quick update on it. Let's look at the Premiership and give you the entire scores from the Premiership now. Let's first of all start off with confirmation of that result up at Dingwall. Ross County 4, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 0, Rangers 1, Celtic 5, Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 2, Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2, Hearts 2, Partick Thistle 2, Motherwell 2, Dundee 3. Into the Championship. Ayr United 0, Hibernian 4, Dunfermline 3, Morton 1, Falkirk 2, Queen of the South 2, and St Mirren 5, Raith Rovers 0. Dundee United against Dumbarton is a 5:15 kick-off. In League One in Scotland, Alloa 1, Stranraer 0, Brecon City 1, Albion Rovers 0, East Fife 0, Airdrieonians 4, Livingston 4, Peterhead 1, and Queen's Park 0, Stenhousemuir 2. In Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 5, Montrose 1, Arbroath 3, Elgin City 2, Clyde 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Cowdenbeath 1, Forfar 1, and Edinburgh City 1, Stirling Albion 0. In the English Premier League, it was Southampton 0, Hull 0, Stoke 0, West Ham 0, Sunderland 0, Bournemouth 1, and West Brom 0, Leicester City 1. Crystal Palace against Burnley is the 5:30 kick-off. So that's confirmation of all the scores there, and I think coming up in the next couple of minutes you might want to stick with us here on STV2. We're going to hear from Pedro Caixinha. Kenny Miller will give us his thoughts on the game, and I think the Rangers players will be hurting after this result today, but the Celtic players more than happy. Lee Griffiths just one of the goal scorers and an emphatic 5-1 win, Ruffy.
Yeah, you have to give Lee Griffiths a bit of credit. You know, he's been out for most of the season, and he's had a couple of games there. He's looked as sharp as he's ever looked and scoring goals, so great season for him.
I thought he fitted in well today as well, Peter, his movement and everything. You know, Dembele I don't think has been in the best of form of late, so I think Griffiths has actually strengthened Celtic a bit.
Yep, well, the Celtic fans will certainly be happy with him. He's been in and out of the side and struggling to get first team starts because of the performances of Moussa Dembele. Will Dembele be back in time for the cup final? I'm sure if Griffiths keeps scoring, he would think he is the prime candidate to start in that match. Join us after the break. We'll hear from both the Celtic and the Rangers manager. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. If you were concerned why Gordon Smith was actually just looking at the back of Alan Ruff's head, Alan works on these new batteries. He isn't actually he isn't actually a person. Ruffy sadly passed away after Argentina. There is no Ruffy. This is all artificial intelligence.
Well, it's artificial.
No intelligence involved.
It's been rebooted.
There's a cue.
I have to say, I'm not happy with the size of chip they've put in you, because we've just got a load of nonsense so far. Let's go to Fir Park and get a little sum up of the story from Kevin Harper.
Thanks for correcting me there, Peter. The score was Motherwell 2, Dundee 3. It finished here, and the first half was nothing much happened apart from the last minute where Holt hit a cross and Haber. Samson fumbled the ball and O'Hara lashed it into the back of the net after a flick on from Haber. The second half it burst into life. Corner from the left, Samson flaps it again and Haber drives it to make it 2-0 to Dundee. Then almost right instantly they go. Motherwell went up the park, a corner came in and Moult lashed it into the back of the net from about 4 yards. After that, Ross got to the byline for Dundee to make it 3-1. A great cross. O'Hara heads it, and it flicks off Haber into the back of the net. And then fair crosses for Motherwell from the left, and Ainsworth hits his shot across goal, and Cadden slides in to make it 3-2, but Dundee here held on to make it a good win for Neil McCann in his first game. Motherwell 2, Dundee 3.
And get the thoughts of Neil McCann. He must be delighted. His first game in charge, and he gets the win, and that really gives Dundee a chance for a wee bit of breathing space as well. Huge win there for Dundee, Hugh McDonald.
Absolutely. And that's what we talked about, is that just that jab of adrenaline that comes with a new manager. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But given Dundee's recent record, they really had to do something to end that negative momentum. Neil McCann's obviously getting in there, giving them something fresh, maybe just improve the confidence of players, giving them a word in the ear, and that's a fantastic result.
Well, let me read this out to you. We've got tweets coming in at Peter and Ruffy as well, and I think this is maybe just the first one I've witnessed from a Hearts fan. We get lots of messages coming in, and Gary Dunn says Hearts went from second under Robbie Neilson to struggling for sixth under Cathro. Not entirely his fault. He reckons Levine to go too. It's very rarely you get that sort of thing, but I think it gathers pace the more you get these results, Ruffy.
Yeah. I don't think they can be happy with the signing policy. I don't think the fans understood it. Okay, he went in there and drastically changed things overnight, and obviously started sliding down the table. And somebody's answerable, and if Craig Levine is part of the decision making, then he have to take the can with the coach.
Yep, okay. You can give us your thoughts on that. Do you look to the board? Do you look to the manager? Give him the time to bring in his own players. You need to keep a kind of a steady ship and calm heads when things are difficult. Pedro Caixinha will give us his thoughts on a 5-1 defeat to Celtic next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Hugh McDonald are with me on a day of drama at the tail end of the season now. Every point is a prisoner. In the Premiership at the top end, it was an emphatic win for Celtic. At the bottom end, Partick Thistle, I can tell you, managed to get a 2-2 draw at Hearts. And also at the bottom end of the game at Fir Park, we witnessed Dundee winning by 3-2 in the Championship. All eyes were on St Mirren Park. Des McKeown is there now with the Raith Rovers boss, John Yogi Hughes.
Yeah, John, important game for both clubs today. How do you assess the part your players played in it?
You would like to think that you could just put it behind you, but at this time of the season, and as you say, with someone so important, if we win the day, you know, we were home and dry, and that was us. To put a performance like that on, you know, it's embarrassing. I really feel sorry. I'll have to apologise to the supporters. And I don't know, do you blast them with one game to go? What do you do? Can you take it? I don't know society nowadays, but we never turned up. And to be honest, we were struggling a wee bit with our right midfielder. The boy Davidson's been off for 10, 12 days with a virus, and the boy Matthews that plays in there is suspended. So Danny Hanlon had to play in there, and then we sort of says to ourselves, right, we'll come up with a wee quirky shape. It's all within 10 yards of each other. It breaks down there, we'll get there, he can get there, but gave us a great overload in midfield to go and pass it. And I thought in the first 20 minutes, if we got on the ball and passed it, we could have played round about them and really got on the front foot. But for some unknown reason, we don't want to pass it. And then it was set up as well to get to people second balls. In the first goal, it falls down second balls, it's played forward. Mavoto should have done better, and it's in the back of your net. So we're not even on the second balls and just try to turn them. But the next one, free kick, you know, instead of standing up and taking one right through in the dish like you do, they've turned their back on it and deflects in the goal. But if you look at the fourth goal, and it'll sum us up, we get a free kick, Declan McManus and Thompson's over it, they go and hits it, the goalie saves it, 4 passes later it's in the back of the net and they two are still arguing in the midfield. That just sums it all up for me, you know. So as I say, desire and society nowadays, I've said to them after the game, everything starts, you have to be humble. Not just humble on the pitch, you have to be humble. I find it very difficult to control the ball, pass it to my teammate, get it back, pass it again. So why you want to stick your head above the parapet and think you're something that you're no until you can do that? Anything you get, you're going to graft for, you're going to work for. I just think I've got boys that I think that they're better than they are, and forget to go and do the hard work because we're outworked, outfought the day. And if we're not passing it and looking after the ball and making them work, then you have to go into toe-to-toe with them, and we were second best all over the pitch.
One game to go. It's another big game, clearly. Ayr United at home next week. You must win that one and see what else happens elsewhere.
But we've been saying that, I know you guys say this is a 6-pointer. It's been like that since I come in, you know, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to galvanise, you're trying to, you know, some of them, you know, as I say to them, some of them players in terms of character can handle it, so you've had to go about it in a different way and telling them they're great and they're brilliant. So maybe it's my fault, maybe a few home truths need to be told in terms of what's required. Too many boys out there, nearly men, we nearly got there. I've got a sweat on, but I'll nearly get there. Come on, Desi, we've all read the book of football. I'm secreting that book of football. I've read it for the last 35 years. Don't kid me on. You either get there or you don't get there. You get there with a desire and a will. That's what we might take next week, a desire and a will, wear your heart on your sleeve to go win a football match. And hopefully, you know, they'll learn for this today and they can certainly bring it next week. We're at home, we've got a good home record, and hopefully we can go and pick up the points. No be easy. Ayr United's new mugs, Ian McCall, you know, Colley. They're no mugs, they've got players in that team. It's certainly got a game for Raith Rovers, so it's right at this moment it's 50-50. On the advantage, we're at home. Hopefully the supporters get right behind us and we can go and win it. Last thing to say, society in football. The Raith Rovers fans that turn up, the people that work in the office, the kit man, all these guys that are Raith Rovers through and through, they care. I think footballers nowadays, it doesn't really matter. What does it matter? Because whatever happens, I'll go away and get myself somewhere else and all that stuff. Why? No, if the next manager phones me up, they'll know. That's for sure. Honestly.
John, you're honest right to the very end. We wish you all the best, pal. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, I mean, at times I've witnessed John Hughes give us an after-match press conference where he doesn't pull any punches. I can tell you right now, that one was blistering.
That one went very slowly, didn't it? It was like one of these snowballs just gathering, you know, they were talking about playing, can they play wee shapes and right midfielders not turning up and having the virus down to an absolute excoriation of his team, you know, just saying, think they're better than they are, not trying.
I certainly wouldn't like to be in the dressing room when he starts telling a home truths, because I don't think you'd miss anybody who he thinks isn't given 100%.
If he's talking to us like that, I mean, he's obviously, what he's saying there more or less was, it's not just about ability, it's about the character of the players as well. And he's saying this group of players do not have the character.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. And let's not forget, this is John Hughes who led Inverness Cally Thistle to the Scottish Cup win for the only time in their history. And of course, you know, he's a man who knows the standard of player he wants. He wants commitment. He certainly wants them to play good football as well. And I think there'll be certainly a few home truths spoken this week for the players that can step up to the plate against Ayr United. Not for the faint-hearted, that game. As far as earlier on today, in the Premiership in Scotland, all eyes on Ibrox. It was Rangers 1, Celtic 5. This is what Pedro Caixinha had to say about that performance.
Everyone thought it's total my responsibility. I think the players try to do their very best. They place a fantastic attitude and they raise the levels of aggressiveness that we ask from them. But the things don't went on the direction we supposed to hand. So I'm the main responsible. That's what I extract or I take from this match. No, you need to judge me all the time. Since the day when I'm at this share, you need to judge me all the time. I'm not one guy that takes the responsibilities from the other and I assume it all the time. So since the day one, for the things that are not going on the right direction, I'm the responsible, and I will be always the responsible.
Well, the Rangers manager, to his credit, is not trying to shirk that responsibility on a game-by-game basis. Although I think the general view would be, the general view would be, what kind of money is he going to get to build his own side next season? Because let's not forget, he's inherited Mark Warburton's team, and of course the question was put to him about restructuring this Rangers side.
We are assessing that with our group internally, with the board, so it's something that we need to decide internally. But definitely we are doing something, and we already started. They need to show to the club, but they are showing on a daily basis. So the decisions are done, and we are going on the direction we think is going to be the best one. Regarding to the needs we identified.
What do you make of his comments, Gordon Smith?
Well, as I say, I was quite positive about him in terms of how he was coming in and taking things over. A great result up at Aberdeen, to be fair. And I thought, as he's taking it the right way, but I think he's quite right to what he said there. He's responsible because he was responsible for the last two games against Celtic. I do feel the formation was wrong, and I've said it before that players, regardless of whether you think they're inferior to the opposition or whatever, players can do better when the tactics are correct, the system's correct, and they line up in the correct manner, and that comes down to the manager. He could have got more out of those players in the two games. Today was worse than the semi-final, and there was a lot of criticism for that. But this is a very heavy defeat at home, basically because I still felt he didn't get his line-up correct today. And I think once he looks at that, he's taking responsibility. He has to look at that and think, maybe I have to play in a different way. And then he'll get more out even the players that are there and the ones he'll bring in.
Well, listen, I'm sure there are elements of tactic, system and line-up that everybody will take on board, Gordon. I'll offer something that's not quite contradicting that. I don't think that's the greater percentage of his problem. I think tactic, system and line-up is irrelevant if you haven't got the players that can do it. I don't think these players are anywhere near good enough.
I agree totally. They're just nowhere near. The gulf between these teams is as big as it's. And I'll be 62 next week. Ruffy's got the party organised. Yeah. And then I've watched football, the Rangers Celtic matches since the 1950s. So I know this gulf is huge.
OK, we will hear from Kenny Miller and Brendan Rodgers and Lee Griffiths just shortly. We're going back live to Paisley to hear from Jack Ross.
Yeah, Jack, how does it feel to manage the Paisley Galacticos?
Well, first of all, I'm delighted that we've managed to avoid that bottom spot. That was a target of us not so long ago because of the position we were in. So to achieve that first and foremost is that first step. We've got other steps to take. The manner in which we're playing is terrific at the moment. We're enjoyable to watch. The goals we score are of high quality as well. So long may that continue. We'd like it to be only continue for one more game, hopefully. If it does take us beyond that, we believe we've got the quality to see us through these games.
I mean, we've spoken in the past about the fluency and the fluidity of your side, but today it was just coming from everywhere. I mean, from Adam Eckersley at left back to Gary Irvine at right back, just coursing through the team. It just shows you confidence and obviously a belief in each other.
Yeah, footballers are human beings, and you know, when they're feeling good about themselves and they feel good about each other, then that happens. Even speaking to a lot of them individually at training yesterday, asking them if they're looking forward to the game, they were simply because they know they're part of a good team at the moment. And when you have that as a player, it's a really good feeling to have going into a match. And we have real pace in our team and forward areas, real good quality, and the goals we scored today again are terrific.
And obviously the job's not done yet. One game to go. It's against the league champions. How do you prepare for that one? How do you get the players back on, not back on track, but certainly after the high of today, how do you prepare for it?
I think to begin with, I've stressed them to enjoy today, to enjoy this evening, because they deserve that for the work they have put in. They'll come back in on Monday and preparations will be the same as they've been over the last few months. We've prepared identically for games, how our structure our week, how we look at the opposition. But what I do know is I've got a group of players that I trust to go into that environment next week and deal with it. They've shown that time after time, so I think they'll look forward to it again. And
I'll have to say a couple of touches today. Before the game, every St Mirren fan who's passed away in the last 12 months was named, and a minute's applause. And obviously after the game you walked around the pitch with your players to take applause from your supporters. There seems to be a real connection again between the supporters and the players and the staff, and it wasn't that long ago that you were challenging some of the fans back here during the winter months. It just shows you how quickly things can change, but also shows you the connection between the club and the fans.
Yeah, I've spoken about this a few times. I felt as if there was a disconnect. Not just this club, I think it happens at other clubs as well. It's just the modern way, and I've always been a bit old-fashioned in that sense, that I wanted to try and rebuild that. I understand that the best way to rebuild it is by putting a team on the park that reflects the fans' passion. We've got a team that does that. I think they're excited by them. And we've worked hard to try and build that bond. We want to continue to strengthen that, because if we continue to strengthen it, there's a really good foundation to build on something here. You know, between the stadium, training ground and that fan base, there's an opportunity to try and take this club back up the way, and I'm determined to do that.
And finally, one word to describe Stevie Mallon's third goal. One word, I'm putting you in the spot.
Remarkable.
That'll do for me. Thanks very much, Jack. All the best next week again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, there's a happy St Mirren manager, Jack Ross. He's now got me itching to see that goal, Ruffy, from Stevie Mallon, because it looks as if it's something sensational.
Yeah, we've all seen wonder goals at some stage. It doesn't matter what level it's at. You know, if it is, as Des said there, it must be fantastic. You know, he's a great striker of the ball, and I think we're all desperate now to see what it is.
Especially when Des is playing bagpipes in the background as well.
Yeah. Well, he's scored, yeah.
Well, he's scored, fantastic.
Yeah, remarkable was how Jack Ross described the goal from Stevie Mallon in a sensational 5-0 win. But I think there'll be a lot of reaction to John Hughes and his assessment of his Raith Rovers side after that defeat today. Let's switch our attention back to what's been happening elsewhere. Of course, I mentioned that Partick Thistle managed to get a point at Tynecastle with 10 men. 2-2. A lot of Hearts fans unhappy with that scoreline. Struna equalising late on for Hearts. Give us your thoughts on the performance of the team today at Tynecastle. At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Aberdeen lost to St Johnstone at Pittodrie. Mathematically, Rangers could still catch the Dons, but it's a long shot to say the least. To the bottom end, Hamilton Accies are in difficulties. They are going to have to fight to avoid a playoff place. They lost today to Kilmarnock. It was a great day for Neil McCann and Dundee. They had a 3-2 win at Fir Park against Motherwell, and a crucial 3 points for them gives them a little bit of breathing space, but it's so tight down there. And after Inverness's defeat to Ross County yesterday, Jim McIntyre's side will certainly feel now they can start to think about getting players in the summer for next season in the Premiership. Give us your thoughts on Rangers 1, Celtic 5. This is Kenny Miller, the Rangers captain, giving us his thoughts on a very difficult day for himself and the Rangers family.
I think the lads feel disappointed it's not strong enough word. It's you're ashamed to play your part in a performance like that, embarrassed with the result. I mean, I wouldn't say, a lot was levelled at us last week about no laying a glove on them, not getting close enough. I mean, I wouldn't say that this week. I mean, the lads put a lot of effort in there, but ultimately it wasn't good enough. And we look at the goals we lose again, they're poor goals, decision making leading into the goals are all wrong. So it's overall really disappointing day, really poor result. No really too many positives we can take for it. So, like I said before, leading into the game, the last few months, there's a lot of hard work to go into us over the close season to make us. And like I said, I'm bored of saying more competitive and challenge and using all these kind of words about next season. There's a lot of work and a lot of things we need to get right to put us in a better place to be more equipped next year. That's for sure.
Kenny Miller will be there next year. He's signed a new contract which will keep him for another season. He knows what it takes, and I think he's got easily 7-8 players that won't be playing alongside him or shouldn't be playing alongside him next season.
Well, that certainly shouldn't be. There's you look at that team today, and for the for quality is what needed to even overtake Aberdeen. There's not the quality there to overtake Aberdeen at the moment. It's as simple as that. I mean, the league table shows it. This is not. As I say, people always, when the Rangers word comes up, will automatically go to this is Rangers. But you've got to say, this is where they are at the moment. They're miles behind. They're behind Aberdeen even at the moment. And I think a real radical overhaul is needed. But it's not as simple as just saying that, because we keep saying, you'll hear it in the papers tomorrow, Rangers need to invest, Rangers need to spend in it. And all the time you're saying, well, where's the money? Where is the money?
Yeah, there was... certainly a lot to celebrate if you were a Celtic fan out there. 5-1 at Ibrox, and Brendan Rodgers summed it up.
I said when I came in that my job is to build a team that can go into any stadium without fear and play. And obviously this is one of the great rivals here for Celtic. So for us to come here and show that, and I think we had a couple of moments, like the goal at the end typifies it. So our defenders defend forward, so be aggressive, step in and defend forward, and that's where the fifth goal comes from, with Mika stepping in, winning it, and then going and scoring like a winger or a centre forward.
And remember, Ruffy, this is only his first season, and he's only tinkered with the team. He's only brought in 1, 2, 3 players. 2 of them have made a significant contribution.
Yeah, and the Celtic supporters will be waiting to see what the addition is and what kind of quality as it comes in. We all know that there's streets ahead, everything here. I think the testing time is when Europe comes along. That's where I don't think judged is the right word, but I mean when you go into the European campaign, it'll be how much he progresses with the team.
Absolutely.
I personally don't think the defence is strong enough for a good European campaign. I think there's still wee leaks here and there. Depends what he brings in, but certainly the improvement since he's went in is just there for everybody to see.
The credible thing today is that team that played today. There's only one Brendan Rodgers player in it, Scott Sinclair. The rest of them are all Ronnie Dyler players. So I mean, that's astonishing on its own. But I agree with you, Alan, and as far as Europe goes, I think the most disappointing result for Celtic, well, given that they're invincible domestically, this isn't it, but the disappointing result for Celtic was getting beat so easily by Borussia Mönchengladbach at home, I think. And I think he got off the hook over that because of how well he'd obviously was improved the team, how well domestic form was got. But don't be wrong, that'll be a result that Brendan Rodgers will be looking at. It'll be a result that he'll be what went wrong that night? And I think they're a much better team even since then, Peter. I think they're a much better team.
Yeah, and of course, the one comment that I think will hurt many a Rangers fan is Brendan Rodgers mentioning the fact that it could have been more.
No, I never like to. There's never comfort. I think what I look for is improvement and performance. And I think if we, from the first game, which was 5-1, and have a look at today's 5-1, it's a total different dynamic to the team. You know, they understood all the elements and of how we wanted to play, and I think you've seen that in full flow today. It's a system that Rangers were playing that at the beginning, which is a diamond, and if you're not concentrated and not organised, you can get outnumbered and outpassed. But the players tactically were absolutely superb in the game, and obviously then when they had the ball and earned the right to get the ball, they were sensational, really. So yeah, big difference in terms of the 5-1 at the beginning of the season to the 5-1 today, and a very comprehensive win. Only disappointment, we actually should have scored more goals.
That will hurt a lot of Rangers fans because he's not actually embellishing it in any way.
No, I think most Rangers fans would look at that. It's certainly at half time, 2-0 at half time. It was getting out of jail. Scott Sinclair, who's I think has been the best player in Scotland, missed 2 absolute sitters. Griffiths hits the bar as well. There's other moments that could have led to goals. So yeah, Celtic could have scored more. Interesting thing is, I agree with them. This was much more comprehensive than the 5-1 at Celtic Park earlier in the season. I thought Rangers were fairly competitive in that match, at least to half time. You know, and if you're winning 5-1 at your rival's home, on the back of winning 5-1 at home, and the hat-trick hero from the first game doesn't play, you're saying to yourself, well, something's improved, something's moved on. You just have to look at the players that have moved on since the beginning of the season. We beat this relentlessly, but this is the level of it. McGregor, Armstrong, Brown, Forrest, Roberts now, everybody's improved. Tierney. Everybody's a better Mayata.
Yeah.
Everybody's a better player than they were at the beginning of the season.
He's moved them on to another style of play.
Yeah.
He's moved them on to a European style of play where possession is be all and end all. But if you've got possession for 70% of a game, you're going to be in top.
And you made a very good point. Out of possession is vital as well, because the way that they were hunting in packs, Rangers
played a good pressing game there.
Rangers at one point should have said, I think, to the goalkeeper, don't play it short, you just get in trouble, just knock it along, we might get a second ball. And if we get a second ball, we're getting it in Celtic's half.
The other thing that they're able to do is they mix the game up very well as well, Gordon, because you know, as Hugh mentioned there, they'll keep the ball for 20, 30 passes, play it along the back, show patience. They like to pass through in triangles, but if they want to go long, they can go long as well. They'll mix it up.
Oh, they do. I mean, the thing about it was, I mentioned earlier on, Peter, what I thought was very good about Celtic was the support they give to each player. You get somebody gets on the ball, and they've got there's other players in the region that they can just play the ball to. A number of times today they played first-time passes while Rangers were trying to close them down, and before you knew it, they'd played a through ball and they were beyond Rangers. That's what they did very well, that style of play. I agree with you that the 5-1 game, the first game in the season where Celtic were taking their chances well, where they came along, Dembele got the ball in the net. Today was different, the fact that they never really took their chances as well, but were more comfortable in terms of running the game. I thought they just controlled the game, start to finish today, and I think that, you know, it was a very good performance, because that Rangers team is gone back the way, as I say, in terms of even just now, and I go back to it, I think the manager is crucial in terms of getting his team selection, tactics right, formation, in order to stop the opposition first and foremost, and Rangers aren't doing that with Celtic.
Yeah, and of course all the questions were about Lee Griffiths stepping in with no Moussa Dembele. He scored 40 goals last season. He's not exactly going to be accused of having stage fright. He just fitted straight back in. This is what he had to say about the 5-1 win.
It's a real statement. Coming here and playing the way we did. I think for the last 10 minutes we took our foot off the gas a little bit. It was 5 going on 7 or 8. The amount of chances we created gave Rangers very limited space. We played to our maximum today.
Ruffy, that's a fairly honest assessment from Lee Griffiths. What I would say is there are positives now that Celtic can look to in signing players and building more for the European stage. But for Rangers, this must be a wake-up call surely to the board to turn around and say, you've got to get your act together here and back this manager.
But it's okay saying backing him, and we all keep saying it. You know, investment. You know, you need money if you want better players. You've got to go and spend money, and if it is the quality that Rangers keep saying, yeah, we want to close the gap. The only way you're going to close the gap is with better players, and better players cost money. And it doesn't matter what club you're at the beginning of the season, you're going into the board meeting, and the board are going to say, right, you've got this. And whether it's 5 million, 10 million, 15 million or whatever, and it depends what this is that he's got to play with.
And then you've got to spend it sensibly.
Yeah, and these Rangers supporters won't want to be seen to be the club to be going down the road, and let's get a couple of loan players from Brentford, and let's get somebody from Port Vale, and let's get this. They want to see players that are there for the duration. They want to see players that are a commitment for the next 3 years, so they're not continually shelling out money. There needs to be some kind of investment in players who are there, not for the long term, but for at least 3 or 4 years, and that's how they will close the gap. I'm not saying how long it's going to take to close that gap, but you're not going to close the gap with bringing up players that aren't good enough for players down there.
There's been tens and tens and tens of millions wasted, just blown away since 2012. I mean, people forget there's a £70 million share issue. The money for that is gone as well. I mean, I think it's all hindsight now, but I think in 2012, I think Rangers were ill-served by certain individuals and certain decisions they made. I'd have loved them to have sat down with a strategy of how to get up the leagues that was viable, instead of money on Ian Blacks and other people of that. And I'm not just signalling out Ian Black, but I mean that him as a personality, that illustrates the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can go to Paisley. Stevie Mallon, the man who scored the wonder goal, is with Des McKeown.
Yep, we've got Stephen with us at the moment. Peter, we're just trying to get a focus on that smile. I'm going to ask you just about one thing, Stephen. Your third goal today. I described it as one of the best goals I've ever seen. You can take the applause from me later. How special was it?
It was obviously unreal, kind of the build-up to it as well, and obviously the distance from where I scored from. It's something that I've done growing up as a kid, and to be able to kind of do it in front of a crowd like that, it's like a dream come true, especially hopefully the last home game of the season. So yeah, it was just an unreal occasion for myself.
And tell me, because I know personally it's been a difficult first part to the season for you, but the difference since Christmas has just been incredible.
Yeah, obviously from when the gaffers brought all the new boys in and stuff and revamped the team, it's been unreal. The feel about the place is just lifted. All the boys have bonded well, and I could see when the fans come out in numbers, it just brings the club closer together. So yeah, it's been unbelievable since Christmas time, and just one regret is not doing it from the start of the season. So as you can see, that it's a good squad that we've got together, and we're really looking forward to next year.
And there is a feel-good factor about the place. I know you've got other duties to go to. You've got some of the hospitality suites to get around. But one more game to go. Can you get the job done? Can you go Easter Road and take points?
Well, we can see when we've got a big occasion ahead of us, the boys can live up to it, especially the cup against Ayr we had to win, and even the Hibs game at home. So Hibs are beatable, and so is every team in the league. So all the boys are going into their high in confidence, as you see today, and we'll just hopefully go and win.
We'll let you get on with your duties. Well done, Stephen. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yep, he can't wipe the smile off his face, and why should you, Gordon, after a goal like that?
Fantastic goal, great to see that. Just to update, Dundee United have gone 1-0 up against Dumbarton, so that's a big goal for Dundee United. Dumbarton, basically, I've been looking at it, they need a point from the last two games, Dumbarton, to be safe. If they get a point, they'll stay in the Championship, but they're a goal down just now to Dundee United. Yeah, he's delighted with his goal, obviously, but he's a good player. I mean, it's mentioned that he says he's looking forward to next season. I've no doubt that teams will be looking at him, because he's a player that I think can step up to a higher division.
Yep, it's a great day if you're a St Mirren fan with that emphatic 5-0 win over Raith Rovers. If you're a Raith Rovers fan, you should try and get online to see the John Hughes interview. He did not pull any punches on the performance of his side. You'll also be able to get reaction to that defeat for Rangers by 5-1 against Celtic. We'll go back over all the full-time scores and keep you updated with Dundee United. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV2. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail are with me here in the studio on a day of drama, top and bottom of all four respective leagues in Scotland. We will also keep you up to date with what's happened in England as well as we take you through the full-time scores across the country. Into the Premiership, first of all, in Scotland today. It's Rangers 1, Celtic 5, Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 2, Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2, Hearts 2, Partick Thistle 2, Motherwell 2, Dundee 3. Scottish Championship, Ayr United 0, Hibernian 4, Dunfermline 3, Morton 1, Falkirk 2, Queen of the South 2, St Mirren 5, Raith Rovers 0, Dundee United 1, Dumbarton 0 is the latest score from the 5:15 kick-off. League 1 in Scotland, Alloa 1, Stranraer 0, Brecon City 1, Albion Rovers 0, East Fife 0, Airdrieonians 4, Livingston 4, Peterhead 1, Queen's Park 0, Stenhousemuir 2. Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 5, Montrose 1, Arbroath 3, Elgin City 2, Clyde 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Cowdenbeath 1, Forfar 1, Edinburgh City 1, Stirling Albion 0. The Premier League in England, Southampton 0, Hull City 0, Stoke 0, West Ham 0, Sunderland 0, Bournemouth 1, West Brom 0, Leicester City 1, Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 1 is the latest score. Ashley Barnes scoring for Burnley. The Championship in England, Barnsley 1, Burton Albion 1, Birmingham City 2, Huddersfield Town 0, Blackburn Rovers 1, Aston Villa 0, Derby County 3, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Fulham 1, Brentford 1, Ipswich Town 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Leeds United 3, Norwich City 3, Preston North End 1, Rotherham United 1, Queen's Park Rangers 2, Nottingham Forest 0, Reading 1, Wigan 0, and Brighton 0, Bristol City 0. That's a 5:30 kick-off. Into League 2. Remember, League 1 taking place on Sunday. Accrington Stanley 1, Luton 4, Barnet 3, Grimsby Town 1, Cambridge United 2, Crawley Town 0, Carlisle United 2, Newport County 1, Cheltenham Town 1, Hartlepool United 0, Doncaster Rovers 1, Exeter City 3, Leyton Orient 1, Colchester 3. That's the latest score. That match has been delayed 40 minutes. Some fans have been on the pitch complaining and protesting against the board at Leyton Orient. Mansfield Town 0, Portsmouth 1, Morecambe 1, Wycombe Wanderers 1, Notts County 1, Blackpool 0, Plymouth Argyle 2, Crewe Alexandra 1, Yeovil Town 1, Stevenage 1. There you have it, the full-time scores across the country. Just one last little word with Des, who's out there in Paisley. Good day for St Mirren. They now only need a point to stay in the Championship, Des.
Yes, and I don't think anyone would bet against them, Peter. I think, honestly, the turnaround in this club since Christmas has been quite remarkable. We've spoken to Jack Ross today, we've spoken to Stephen Mallon, and you talk about a connection with the club and the supporters, with the manager and the players, and from the boardroom to the management team. This club, in recent form would be, and I know it's not quite as simple as this, but in recent form they have Championship title aspirations with the amount of points they've taken from the games they've played since Christmas. But Jack Ross knows that the job's not done. They need to go to Easter Road next week, and depending on what happens, perhaps elsewhere between Raith and Ayr United, a draw, maybe even a defeat would be enough to retain their Championship status, and then it would all be about building on the momentum that Jack Ross has created here in Paisley for next season.
Just one last point from you, Des. The Glasgow Derby, Ibrox. I don't think many of us would have tipped Celtic to go to Rangers and win 5-1.
Well, certain pundits might have, I would have to say, Peter, but I was one of them. I thought today, after the second goal went in, I thought Celtic were in cruise control, could have won perhaps by more. I would share Brendan Rodgers' thoughts on that one, but it just perhaps tells you a bit more about exactly where Rangers are. Pedro Caixinha came in and said that he was inheriting the best team in Scotland. I think Mr Caixinha will need to look at those words, look at his place of work very closely, and if Rangers are to get anything out of Celtic in the next couple of years, there's sure to be a lot of work to be done.
Okay, thanks to Des there. I forgot all about the fact that he managed to put a little bet on Celtic to win 5-1. Des is now heading through Glasgow in an armoured tank because quite simply it's one of those nights where you just stay in. I always advise any reporters, anybody, don't go out on an Old Firm night in Glasgow. It's the safest place to just stay indoors.
If you see somebody pedalling very quickly on his cycle, it'll be Des.
Yeah, absolutely. I've no doubt about that.
Des can run though, he's okay.
Oh yeah,
he's a good runner.
And boy, you'll need to run. Anyway, apart from anything else, great reporting from Des there, and a great game. St Mirren winning by 5-0, and of course he was the man there asking the questions to John Hughes as well. And it really is. If you get a chance to see it again, make sure you go on and have a look on the STV player. John Hughes' interview here on this programme. He does not pull any punches on that result today, 5-0. He's not happy. It's down to the wire for Raith Rovers as well as they take on Ayr United in their final game. Let's have a look at some of the other scores, just discuss them before we look at the table for the Premiership. Up at Pittodrie, I mean, I'm actually looking at it again, not because St Johnstone are not capable of it, Ruffy, but because Aberdeen today could have just cemented second place. I think we're only actually waiting till maybe next week.
Yeah, I think it's been Aberdeen's failing. They've had a great season, you know, but their failing is when the crunch comes to actually put something over the line. You know, something happens, and again, it's happened again. Okay, I still think they'll finish second, but it could have been a day of celebration, you know, for the supporters. But it means the supporters are going away for the game, sort of like grumbling, you know, that we should have won that game today, and we should have consolidated second place. But at the end of the day, I think they'll still be celebrating. I think it's just a minor hiccup.
Craig Thompson and Danny Swanson scoring the goals. Let's not take anything away from St Johnstone. I think that's the one thing about balance on the programme, Hugh. We have been singing the praises of Tommy Wright, and well deserving of it.
And it seems a very Tommy Wright result today, a very Tommy Wright performance, you know, containing Aberdeen, and certainly the second goal looks to have been one that was on the break. So Dumbarton have got a goal, Peter, which is important in the context things at the Championship. So that's one each, Dundee United with Dumbarton.
Yeah, in the Premiership as well, I think the 3-2 win for Dundee and Neil McCann is absolutely massive at the bottom end, Gordon.
Definitely, Peter. I mean, when you consider the fact that, you know, there's a big change there, the manager's gone, Paul Hartley lost his position. He didn't complain too much about it. He knew things maybe had to change. You got to give them credit, Dundee, and it was a controversial appointment in a lot of ways. A lot of people were saying, you know, he's never been a manager before, and you give him, but he's a shrewd guy. Neil McCann, he knows the game very well, and to come in after they've had 7 defeats in a row, go to what was considered a crucial game today. I mean, this was a game against a team right beside them in the league. And to get a very good away win like that, you've got to give them a lot of credit. That Dundee have turned things around.
And the other thing I was going to say to you guys, just on the last couple of games here, Hearts fans, I can start to see grumblings across social media about the result today. 10 men, only 2-2 at home against Partick Thistle.
Absolutely. I don't think the draw gets them out of jail at all in that. I mean, if it makes it almost, you know, more concerning for. I mean, I think when you're drawing, you get a chance to draw one each, but then go play 10 men. What you don't want to do is lose a simple goal, and the goal was very simple, as we know, ball over the top, playing a high line. Going back to Neil McCann thing, what people forget about Neil McCann as well is, Gordon rightly points out, he's a shrewd guy, but he's got a pro licence as well, so he's at the top level of coaching, you know, and he's always he always talks well about coaching. I interviewed him earlier in the season. He's happy where he is broadcasting wise, but I was sure he would come into coaching at one point.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the table in the Premiership to see where things stand, top and bottom. Celtic way out in front, Aberdeen second place. A win next week would secure second place for them. Rangers would run out of time at the bottom end. Inverness, it looks like a forlorn hope for them staying in the division, and then it's Motherwell, Hamilton, Dundee that I think will be looking and wondering who's going to be in the playoff place. Ross County might be breathing a little bit easier. Ruffy, sum it up. Ibrox today, 5-1. Brendan Rodgers ecstatic. Lee Griffiths says it could have been 7 or 8.
Yep, I think it's all about the Rangers supporters getting away from that game today, shaking their heads, wondering where their club's going. They'll need somebody to come up with some kind of direction, because as we've all said, their season tickets have to be sold, and somebody will have to come up with some answers.
Gordon, it's a lot of unhappy Rangers fans. Where should their anger be directed, the manager or the board?
I think that it's a bit of both, to be honest, but I think at the moment it'll be probably the board that'll be getting it, because they'll be saying, well, you know, you need to give us some sort of indication of where it's going, because as you mentioned earlier on, season tickets will need to be sold. But I felt in terms of the last 2 games, I felt the manager was to blame.
OK, we'll have more reaction to that on Monday's show. Join us if you can on STV2. We'll look back over all the weekend stories and we'll have more interviews and more reaction from that Glasgow derby at Ibrox. It was Rangers 1, Celtic 5. The champions have, 5 wins out of 6 and only 1 draw in there as well in the games against Rangers. Can anyone stop Celtic winning the treble? It's only Aberdeen standing in their way, and can anyone stop them from going unbeaten all the way through until the end of the season? It's Celtic's Day in Glasgow. Thanks for watching. Good night.